A potential breakthrough when it comes to treating type 1 diabetes in kids. And it could be critical to their quality of life down the road. Our Jessica Brown back now with a local doctor leading that research. Jessica.
Yeah, that's right. Type 1 diabetes is one of the most common chronic diseases in children, and untreated, it can cause serious health damage. We can tell you new research shows vitamin D can be a powerful weapon in fighting this illness.
Brain, the eyes, the kidneys, the nerves, the limbs. So if nothing is done, they begin to have complications.
Dr. Benjamin Nwosu says the urgency in treating type 1 diabetes is clear. The disease can have a serious impact even at an early age. His research at UMass Chan Medical School shows giving young patients doses of vitamin D when they're first diagnosed slowed the progression of the disease, keeping them in what's known as the honeymoon period of the illness.
So for vitamin D, which is a cheap and easily available product to actually impact this phase, is significant. Classically, honeymoon periods last from 3 months to 12 months. However, there are recent studies now showing that they are able to actually pick up C-peptide and evidence of insulin production in people who have had diabetes for more than 50 years. So it could last for long in some people.
Dr. Nwosu says there's more research to do in terms of the impact of the treatment, but the message to families living with this illness is clear.
But I think that what our study shows is that if someone is diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and the parents can actually feel confident to add vitamin D as a supplement to what they are receiving. Most kids are receiving vitamin D anyway.
Well, Dr. Nwosu says what's most critical is starting young when they're kids, the treatment habits and good habits as soon as someone is diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. He says better blood sugar control from the start can keep more serious impacts of the disease at bay.
According to the International Diabetes Federation's Diabetes Atlas, 1 in every 20 Africans between the ages of 20 and 79 lives with diabetes. In 2024 alone, an estimated 24 to 25 million Africans were affected. In the Federation's Africa Diabetes Regional Report of 2000 to 2050, by 2045, that number is projected to reach 55 million. Even more alarming, over half of the cases remain undiagnosed, while diabetes and related illnesses claim close to 500,000 lives across the continent every year. It is 6:30 p.m. in Ibuku, Nigeria, 8:30 p.m. in Nairobi, Kenya, and 1:30 p.m. in New York City. Wherever in the world you are joining us from, welcome to another episode of 90 Minutes Africa. My name is Rudolph Okonkwo. What explains the explosion of diabetes cases in Africa and around the world? Why are so many people unaware they have the disease? What breakthroughs are changing treatment and improving survival rates? Is there real hope for patients and families battling diabetes? In this important edition of 90 Minutes Africa, we welcome Professor Benjamin Udoka Nwosu, one of the world's leading experts in pediatric endocrinology and diabetes care. Professor Nwosu serves as the Chief of Endocrinology at Cohen Children's Medical Center of New York, and is a professor of pediatrics at the Zucker School of Medicine at Hofstra University. He's also the co-editor alongside Ambika Ashraf of the newly published Springer book, Pediatric Diabetes. They will discuss the topic we're discussing today is diabetes breakthroughs and new hope for patients. Join us as we welcome to the show Professor Benjamin Nwosu. Professor Nwosu, welcome to the
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. It's a wonderful, wonderful afternoon here in New York City, and for a change, we have a real doctor in the house, professor for that matter. But welcome, and let's start the way we normally start the show, which is to look at issues that are trending in the world. Before we go to the main reason why we brought you here, which is a discussion on diabetes and treatment and new breakthroughs. We start with the world and what's happening. Donald Trump, the president of the United States, just returned from a trip to China. He went to China with CEO of all the major companies in America, and they went to discuss trade and relationship between the two countries. I know you are busy, but I hope you were able to get little information on what happened in that trip. What do you make of that trip? The nature of the people that followed Trump and the mission of United States to China?
In a nutshell, that trip was just to legitimize China's position as a first world country today. There's no question about it.
China is a first world country?
Yes.
So what does that mean? That China has left Africa behind?
Yes.
When did that happen?
China has been a great empire for thousands of years, but I think in the past 70 years, they were able to really think ahead, several decades into the future, mobilize their people, crush people who were there to corrupt the system. And they show that you can actually bring together free market economy and socialism without introducing democracy. So that's the magic of China, and they have pulled it off.
Now, people say that what happened in China in the last 40 years, they call it a miracle, that they were able to move 800 million people out of poverty. 800 million. It has never happened in the history of mankind. How were they able to do that? And can Africa copy their templates?
You know, it's a game of revenge. China has always been known as the weak man of the East. I don't know if you're aware of that. So they woke up and they rose to re-establish their dominance over their neighbors. I mean, Japan was pushing them around for decades. So it's a game of revenge. I remember China gave us books like The Art of War. So they understand how to use first principle strategies to nullify the enemy's plans.
Mm. So you talked about what they did and how they were able to move 800 million people out of poverty. Every now and then we hear African leaders, even Nigerian leaders, talking about doing the same thing. Why is it difficult for any African country to move away from being a third world or what they call a developing nation?
There are three things. Number one is that grand vision. You have to have that, a nation has to have a grand vision to be first before they can ever get there. All right. Number two is mobilizing the people. So all the arrows will be pointing in the same direction. Number three, which is what people don't even talk about, is that, corruption carries capital punishment in China. So you can't take money out of China and go and bank elsewhere without repercussions. So those countries in Africa, they can say whatever they want to say, but as long as the leaders are grossly corrupt, pushing money out into Europe and elsewhere, into all these banks, hidden in the tax shelters and tax havens of the world, nothing is going to come out of all those efforts.
Mm. So I'm interested in a little bit of pushing more on what you think happened in China and how they were able to do that. You now talk about corruption, the treatment of corrupt people in China. We hear African leaders use China as an example, but they don't talk about that. They don't talk about corruption and how corruption is handled in China compared to how they handle it in Uganda or in South Africa. Why is that?
Because they are corrupt.
Because, that makes sense. That makes sense. But the Chinese people also, you talked about this mix of capitalism and a little bit of socialism and the structure. Do you think that Africa, we have to move in that direction? Because the Chinese people, there are still people in China who were complaining not long ago about lack of democracy, participatory politics, where they vote for anybody, multi-party system, which is what we practice in most parts of Africa. Do you think that's the problem? Do you think we may have to choose the Chinese model?
Every society must come up with a system that works best for them and implement that system, as long as it ensures progress, egalitarianism, and relief for the people. You see, democracy is not really the democracy we learned in secondary school. Unfortunately, it's not the democracy that is truly practiced. That ideal democracy, you hardly see it anywhere. Even in the United States, you still have the electoral college system. You see that states are weighed differently on the electoral college system. A tiny state may have this huge weight compared to a huge state like California, which has nothing. So that's not really true democracy.
All right. Talking about what's going on in Africa, last week they had a conference, a summit that took place in Nairobi, Kenya. African leaders were summoned by France, this time not in Paris, because people have been complaining about taking African leaders out of Africa for a summit somewhere in Europe or in America. They did this in Nairobi, Kenya. Let me play you a little bit of a video encounter between a journalist and the president of Nigeria. Let's watch.
Means, African countries don't have to convert to USD and so on. So that, very good across border payments and so on. But just very quickly as an aside, I think it was you or maybe President Oligi Nguema who mentioned monetary union and how the euro has got the euro. So if Europe's got the euro, when will Africa get the afro?
Nigeria, I would say, and speaking for Africa, as African champion, putting our spirit behind what we talk about is creating a platform. Look around the entire continent, 54 countries. There's none of us without a particular commodity available in the country or the other. Why not start an exchange commodity platform where we can trade with one another?
Well, why don't you start one?
You say?
Why don't you start the commodity exchange you're talking about?
So that was a sample of what happened there. So what do you make about this idea of African leaders gathering and having this talk about how to save Africa, gathering under the summon of one European or American leader?
The great Chinweizu wrote a book, The West and the Rest of Us, and everybody should read that book, where he outlined the historical perspective of this interaction. We call it interaction, but it's not truly an interaction. It's a game of parasitism. Somebody is coming to your house to take everything you have, and then you're supposed to worship the person. Whenever the person asks you to show up, you show up. The answer by Tinubu there didn't make any sense. And that is the problem. You know, I don't think African leaders should be flocking to European leaders when they show up in Africa. That makes them look foolish. The reason France is frantically trying to bring together English-speaking African nations is because the Sahel Alliance has pushed France out of its normal habitat in Africa, where it has for decades been exploiting them, withdrawing resources without payment. Do you know if you send a letter from Cote d'Ivoire to Nigeria, the letter will go to France first before it gets to Nigeria? Okay, so this is the problem that France is facing. I'm be honest with you, if Africa doesn't open its doors to France in the next 5 to 10 years, the French society might collapse because it's built on exploitation of African resources.
Now, there were African leaders and policy molding people who were essentially apologizing for Macron, the French, for what they did in the past. One of them is someone like Tony Elumelu, also President William Ruto of Kenya. They all made statements essentially telling Africans to forgive the French for what they did in the past, that we are moving forward now, where they've changed, they've become good people, they now care about. What do you make of that?
Again, I refer people to read Chinwezu's masterpiece, The West and the Rest of Us. Chinwezu called these people the petty bourgeois, small, big men. So he had a name for them back in the 1960s or something. So this is nothing new. The colonial overlords pay off some people and they become the mouthpiece of Africa. Tony Elumelu is running around trying to crown himself Africa's #1 businessman. But, people should probably, leave the hood and look underneath and see what's going on for sure. So these are petty bourgeois. We don't have to waste our time with them.
In Nigeria, coming to Nigeria now, election is about to actually started already. They're having the primaries of different political parties. It's shaping up to be quite interesting. We might have a repeat of 2023, where you have candidates Bola Tinubu, Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar. What do you make of how things are shaping? Do you follow Nigerian politics while you're busy doing your research?
I follow it to some extent. I think there's a glimmer of hope that people will vote en masse for the candidate of their choice. And we hope that there is no rigging, wholesale rigging that is going to reconfigure the normal outcome that the people would expect, which may lead to people pouring into the streets. And we'll be having a situation like a revolution in Nigeria. I hope it doesn't extend to a civil war or something, but people are really tired of being used every 4 years for nothing.
So what gives you the sense that people are exhausted or at the break point where they might do something if things do not go well?
Yeah, people are hearing about this massive corruption. Somebody has built the country of $30 billion. We're talking about dollars, billions of dollars disappearing and all this. And then when they exercise that fundamental right to vote, it doesn't even count. So you're going to push them to the wall this time, and they may just push back. Even the police force and the military in Nigeria, they're heavily demoralized. So I don't even see them as giving that protection that the so-called leaders need to be standing between them and the masses when this time comes.
Now, the political structure this time, what they are doing is that they're using direct, there was an issue. Initially, most of the parties wanted consensus candidates. which is where they will now tell the people who are interested in running that, look, this is our choice. You should wait for your turn. And that did not work out well. Most of the candidates, people who are interested, wanted something that will give them a chance to be voted for. So they all went for what they call direct primary. This is an example of what videos have been coming out from Nigeria in the last few days.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 200, 201, 201, 202, 203.
This is not a skit. This is real life story coming out of Nigeria. Where do you see any hope? This is APC.
I like the idea of people directly throwing their hats into the ring and then having their names counted. And so all this idea of backroom arrangements and it's my turn, it's not your turn, and all this nonsense. People should just go and run. I have classmates who are running too, so they should run. There's nothing to... democracy should be open and transparent, and should be... the participation should be, in an egalitarian fashion.
Yeah, but the rigging that we are watching in our face, we saw him count from 1 to 10, from 10 to 100. He just skipped everything else.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 100, 101. 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 200, 201, 201.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So, but each party should have their representatives there.
Yeah, but this is one party is the primary, so it's all APC.
It's all the same party.
So the same party. So, but this is a sample of what is going on across the country.
That's unfortunate.
All right. One part of before we leave that topic, political topic, and go into why we brought you here. One of the candidates I mentioned is Peter Obi. I don't know if you know him, and what do you think about his politics and his role in this transition? Because we are moving, we're still transitioning to something we don't know yet. What is your take on his participation in politics and how probably he changed or the political scene in Nigeria, or that he remained the same? I don't know. What's your take?
Two things. Peter Obi has changed the structure and the dynamics of politics in Nigeria. It's actually Peter Obi versus the rest. There's no one in Nigeria today that has that organic charisma that Peter Obi carries. Peter Obi shows up anywhere and he's surrounded by people of goodwill. So people have put their hopes, the hopes of their children, grandchildren, on the shoulders of one man in Nigeria. Now, that is an interesting configuration, because if Peter Obi wins, there will be peace. If Peter Obi is rigged out, there will be disorder. No question. Okay, so let me go to my second point. Peter Obi has already won. Why do I say that? In the last election, he won many states, but he was rigged out. But the only one that the returning officer refused to give away was Abia. And so Abia is now under Labour Party, Peter Obi's former party. And in terms of rate of development, Abia is #1 across the nation. In fact, the standard of living in Abia State has improved remarkably compared to other states.
How?
In terms of electricity, in terms of healthcare provisions, in terms of monetary provision for retired citizens, in terms of road construction across the state. So much so that he actually built a road to the house of the former Minister of Nigeria, Aja Nwachukwu, which in America here, you have all those historical sites. Aja Nwachukwu's house is now a historical site. Have you heard of that? That is how countries develop. So, and I'm not even talking about the increase in trade as a result of the improved road infrastructure, bus stops, and the ability to move goods around. Now, the knock-on effect, as we say, is that other governors are now copying the Abia Protocol. But remember, the governor of Abia State did not just jump in there and began to rule. There are people like Ndubisi Ekekwe and some people who came together, who he brought them together as advisors to develop I think it's a 10-year economic development plan for Abia State. And that's what the Chinese did, actually. So he's following that protocol. And other people are just chasing after him, trying to be like him. So this is where Peter Obi has won. And so Nigeria can essentially put Peter Obi in power, and Peter Obi will implement the same protocol.
Now, talking about Peter Obi, there are Igbo people who have, they've compared him to someone like Nnamdi Azikiwe. I don't know what you make of that comparison, that they, in a way, they talk about Nnamdi Azikiwe moving the Igbo people away from the central government. If you listen to the people that formed, I'm not sure you know all these things because it's not something you may pay attention to. But there's something they call the City Boys movement. These are people who are supporting President Tinubu. Their philosophy, their idea is that they should go to the center, and that what Peter Obi is doing is moving Igbo people away from the center. What do you make of that argument?
You see, this is the problem. Going to the center is not the problem. It's how did you arrive at the center? Are you arriving at the center as a pauper? Or are you arriving at the center as somebody who belongs to the center? You don't want to go to the center and be a house cleaner at the center. Nothing against house cleaners, but this is, in other words, they want to go there and kneel down and be given crumbs from the table. No. That is not what the people of Southeast want. You see, you see the person you're talking about?
Yeah, actually, he's one of the city boys. And when you said kneel down, I had the picture already. I didn't know that you were talking about. Yeah, this is one of the city boys.
This is disgraceful.
Actually, he lost his primaries. He couldn't convince his people to vote for him. But
so that makes my point.
He claimed that he didn't participate, that he saw that he was going to lose or something. And I have a video of him talking.
That makes my point. It's how you arrive at the center.
Yeah, but can you say, is there anything in Zik and how he played his politics that you can see in Peter Obi?
Zik came in to create something bigger in Nigeria. He had higher hopes for Nigeria. But there are also tribal elements in Nigeria that easily frustrates anybody who wants to execute a higher hope for Nigeria. If you read Achebe's The Troubles with Nigeria, it's well captured there, no question. So Obi and Zik are two different individuals playing in different times. I think Obi's humility and approach to government, not picking fights with A or B, but just moving with the people's goodwill, is a good thing to bring into the body politics. And I think he's doing it well.
All right. Before we leave politics, one last question. You're from Anambra State, I understand, and your governor, Charles Soludo, was projected to be the face of the intellectual class in power, not like the former one who was drinking non-alcoholic champagne. But I don't know how it has worked. People have different viewpoints on how he has performed. I want to know if you follow what is going on in the States, whether you think he has done well, especially as someone who promised to turn Anambra State into Dubai or Taiwan.
Soludo, I will give him a pass mark, but I will not give him a distinction. Soludo has been hobbled by his competition against P2B. He wants to essentially knock down P2B and then become the candidate that is selected by the other groups in Nigeria as the presidential aspirant of Southeastern extraction. And that has actually impacted his ability to deliver the best for the Anambra people. You see, if somebody like Alex Oti of Abia State is running ropes around him, because Soludo is hobbled on so many sides by small issues, and then he doesn't even help himself when he continues to criticize someone like P2B that has not even done anything to him. So I'm surprised that he hasn't really achieved as much as we had expected from him as a professor who should really have had his done his homework before coming on the stage. And this is his second term, so he has about 3 years more as the executive president of Anambra State. But he hasn't really, apart from road construction and all that, there hasn't really been anything of note that you can say this is what Charles Soludo has left for Anambra people.
All right, we'll take a quick break, 3 minutes. When we come back, we are going to talk about breakthroughs in diabetes and new hope for patients, which is something you've been working on, and also the new book that you just published. We'll talk about that. So let's take a break, and thank you everybody for watching. Next segment after this one will be a chance for you to join us and have interaction with our guest, Professor Benjamin Nwosu. Thank you.
1 diabetes in kids, and it could be critical to their quality of life down the road. Our Jessica Brown back now with a local doctor leading that research. Jessica.
Yeah, that's right. Type 1 diabetes is one of the most common chronic diseases in children, and untreated, it can cause serious health damage. We can tell you new research shows vitamin D can be a powerful weapon in fighting this illness.
Brain, the eyes, the kidneys, the nerves, the limbs. So if nothing is done, they begin to have complications.
Dr. Benjamin Nwosu says the urgency in treating type 1 diabetes is clear. The disease can have a serious impact even at an early age. His research at UMass Chan Medical School shows giving young patients doses of vitamin D when they're first diagnosed slowed the progression of the disease, keeping them in what's known as the honeymoon period of the illness.
So for vitamin D, which is a cheap and easily available product to actually impact this phase, is significant. Classically, honeymoon periods last from 3 months to 12 months. However, there are recent studies now showing that they are able to actually pick up C-peptide and evidence of insulin production in people who have had diabetes for more than 50 years. So it could last for long in some people.
Dr. Nwosu says there's more research to do in terms of the impact of the treatment, but the message to families living with this illness is clear.
But I think that what our study shows is that if someone is diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and the parents can actually feel confident to add vitamin D as a supplement to what they are receiving. Most kids are receiving vitamin D anyway.
Well, Dr. Nwosu says what's most critical is starting young when they're kids, their treatment habits and good habits as soon as someone is diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. He says better blood sugar control from the start can keep more serious impacts of the disease at bay.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. If I can find myself and my guests. Thank you for joining us, and we have... all right, I got it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We are having a conversation on diabetes breakthroughs and new hope for patients with Professor Benjamin Nwosu. All right, so Professor Nwosu, you've been working on diabetes for a long time. Why is it getting worse?
It getting worse is a relative term because there's so many types of diabetes. So which one are we talking about? So we can focus.
According to the different World Health Organization, different organizations in Africa is exploding. And
yes.
we have, as of 2024, we were talking about 24 to 25 million people living with diabetes. And now they're projecting 50 million in the next 10 years. So,
okay, now I get you. So when we talk about the continent of Africa and diabetes, then we are talking predominantly about type 2 diabetes, which is a type of diabetes that results from two things. One, genetic predisposition to beta cell apoptosis. In lay terms, it means that these people have genes that are programmed to make the beta cells that make insulin live shorter than their normal lifespan. That's one. Then the second thing is insulin resistance. So their insulin is produced, but it's not as effective as the normal biological insulin. So then they have to produce much more higher levels of insulin to maintain the blood sugars under good control. So when you combine the combination of increased loss of beta cells and insulin resistance, then it is easy for high blood sugars to arise in these people. So that's type 2 diabetes.
What about type 1?
Type 1 diabetes is one we predominantly see in this part of the world, Europe, America, and so on. In type 1 diabetes, there are genes again that predispose the individual to autoimmune attacks. And these autoimmune attacks are targeted against the beta cells that produce insulin. So they kill off the beta cells. And so after a while, you cannot produce enough insulin to maintain the blood sugar. And then after a point, the blood sugar rises to the level that we use to diagnose diabetes. So that's type 1 diabetes due to autoimmune destruction of the beta cells.
So in Nigeria, what do people have most of the time? Type 2?
Yes, type 2. In fact, there is a World Health Organization study that was done some years ago. This is an impressive study. And it agrees with the vitamin D hypothesis. So it says that as you move away from the equator, right, the prevalence of type 1 diabetes begins to rise. Because if you're in Nigeria and you're a student training in a medical school in Nigeria, you will see very few individuals with type 1 diabetes, very few. However, as you move away from Nigeria to higher latitudes, Boston, Finland, and so on, it will just rise all of a sudden. And so we believe that what is going on there is that the high level of sunshine and high level of vitamin D production in the tropics protect us from type 1 diabetes. It also protects us from multiple sclerosis, by the way. But in the northern latitudes, where they have very low amount of sunshine, they don't have that protection.
I know I was with you at a conference where you presented a paper, and I asked you this question. I don't remember what you said in the answer. There were a lot of Americans there. So let me ask you in front of Nigerians and Africans who are watching, what were our forefathers doing before the Europeans came in treatment of people with diabetes? Or were there no people with diabetes like 200 years ago? What were they doing? Do we know?
So diabetes has been there since, human beings were, it showed up on the earth. Let's put it that way, because it was described in ancient Egypt, ancient Greek and all that. Now, understand this. In Africa, many people back then were not overweight or obese. So the genes were there. However, if you maintain your body mass index in the normal levels, those genes will just stay dormant. But once your body mass index begins to rise, then those genes will become unmasked and they will express. So that's one way of keeping it down, maintaining, getting up in the morning, walking for miles, getting food, carrying it in your head and going back home. Then the second thing is there are other forms of diabetes that might also show up, but they will not have understood it as the way we understand it now. So they will still say somebody died of something, but nobody knows exactly what the person died of. You see what I mean? So one was natural protection by increased activity, lack of sedentary lifestyle, eating the right foods, and just sleeping well. The other one is some cases where they couldn't diagnose it. The person just died, and then they blamed it on something, maybe the spirits or something. So, and that was it.
So, I was at Hofstra University, your university medical school, and I attended a conference there. You organized it or you headed it, and it was about new knowledge, where knowledge things are breakthroughs in the search for cure for diabetes. Where are we? Where are we in the world, and where are we in Nigeria or in Africa?
Okay, let me speak to where we are in the world. That's better. So diabetes, like I say, has been there for a long time, for centuries. It wasn't until 1921 that Banting and Best, a Canadian surgeon and a Canadian PhD student, came up with the isolation of insulin, right? And they had this 14-year-old boy who was dying from diabetic ketoacidosis. His name was Leonard Thompson. And they injected the first human insulin into this boy, and he survived. Then, over the years, they continued to purify insulin and so on. And there's a lot of stories around this insulin thing, but I'm not going to go into all those stories. But one thing I would say, Dr. Banton did not take anything in terms of, forgetting the word now, for the discovery of insulin.
Okay.
He got the Nobel Prize,
yeah.
but he gave it free to humanity, right? So other people are now benefiting, making millions from it. But there's something in his house currently in Canada. There's something called the eternal flame. That flame has been on. And that flame will not be put out until we discover a cure for diabetes. So it's there burning day and night. As a hope that one day we will discover the cure. So let me fast forward a little bit. Up until 1960, 1970, people used to check their blood sugars using, glucose strips. You dip it, it's red, it's yellow, it's green, then you say this. But recently, not only have we received things like glucometers, showing you the actual number, we now have continuous glucose monitors, which monitors your blood sugar and gives you real-time information, which you can share with other people actually on your cell phone, your parents or your uncles and all, and so they follow your blood sugar. And then insulin pump has also been miniaturized, meaning it has been made smaller and easy to carry in such a way that you can just put it on your body, and then it will be injecting the insulin into the individual. But then they came up with something even smarter. They built an algorithm, which is a brain, to now work between the continuous glucose monitor sensor and the insulin pump. So we call it the AID, Automated Insulin Delivery System. So the sensor and the pump are talking. They are reacting to the blood sugar. And all you need to do now is just announce your meals. So you say, okay, I'm going to have 50 grams of carbohydrates. So I'm going to give 3 units to cover that meal. So you do that 3 minutes. Just, press it on your phone or your machine. And it goes in. And that's it. And when you come to the clinic, they download your profile. So we see what's called time in range. How many percentage of time have you been in range over the past 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months? We can do that in the clinic, real time, right? Mm-hmm. So these are important, progress in the field. Other thing is what is called smart insulin. So that insulin molecule now, right? They're coming up with a smart one that will not be in your body, but it would detect your blood sugar and act in response to your blood sugar. So if your blood sugar is high, more of it will be released. If blood sugar is low, less of it or none will be released. So that's smart insulin. And then they are now going into cell-based therapies. So cell-based therapy is when you harvest the pancreatic beta cell, maybe from a cadaver, maybe it's from somebody who has signed up to be a donor. And then you collect these islet cell units, right, in a syringe. And then you inject it into, of course, you homogenize it and, do all the things you need to do. And then there's a counter that tells you how many you have. And then you inject it into the hepatic portal vein. So it will go to the liver and get entrapped in the liver. And there they will survive and produce insulin. People thought that was going to be the cure. When I was a fellow at the National Institutes of Health, they were doing this there, both in humans and chimpanzees and so on. But they quickly found out that the body immune system will destroy those transplanted cells. So then you have to immunosuppress the individual. But in the process of immunosuppressing the individual, you're using steroids and so on, right? And those counter the activity of insulin. So you now have to give more insulin to maintain blood sugar. So then people say, how are we going to circumvent all these issues? So now they are using encapsulated insulin delivery techniques. So they put these insulin, the beta cells, in nano materials such that insulin can leave the capsule, but autoimmune natural killer cells cannot come into the capsule.
All right. So, for an old woman in Ibuku who is diabetic, and they told her that it's somebody that did voodoo and she stepped on it. What hope when will she see insulin?
The truth is this, and this is unfortunate. I think in some of the countries where you're not seeing this accelerated progress in medicine, in science, I think there is almost like a conspiracy against the citizens to keep them poor and unhealthy. It wouldn't take Nigerian government much to supply insulin to the people with diabetes. But it's because we have this word we use for everything, corruption, that cannot even be done. The money allocated for it will be stolen by someone, and it will just be the end of the story. That's why the Chinese miracle worked, because they used capital punishment to prevent corruption.
Is there a factory in Nigeria making insulin?
I don't think so.
So it has to be imported, preserved all the way?
Yes, so there's that chain too. You have to maintain that chain from manufacturing to the end user, which needs to happen. But think about it. India is manufacturing pharmaceuticals across the board. And Nigeria can't even do it. But you need constant power supply to do these things. All this idea of NEPA triggering lights off and lights on and all that is nonsense. You can't operate a lab in that situation, because let's say you have, for example, you have extracted the things you need, and you are now in the process of bringing out the final product, and then there's no power. That damages the whole thing. Investors will run away.
There are a lot of things to talk about. Your research, how you're able to do that, how medicine is taught in Nigerian universities compared to the way it's taught here, your book, and also we touch on your foundation, because you are doing something to give back to people. So for those who are eager to join our conversation, give us a little bit more time. We will get to that. But let me play this video and get your reaction to that. Then we'll continue the conversation.
People.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
I am one of them. I am part of it.
Yes, sir.
I am a graduate man. Yes. I'm a graduate man.
Exactly.
After all, my wife is a graduate.
Yes.
And I'm the one that sent her to school.
Exactly, sir.
He that trained a graduate is also a graduate trainer. Are you understand me?
Yes, sir.
A graduate trainer is also a graduate, because you have already used your money to graduate somebody.
Yeah.
All right. I don't think you know the man speaking. That's not why I played the video. I played the video because in Nigeria and most of Africa, when people say they want to go and enjoy, it's actually not going to watch an opera or go and watch a play or Broadway show. It's actually to eat. And the concept of eating is something like this, like what this man is doing. What do you make of this? This kind of meal?
This is dangerous. Because this is food meant for 10 people that he is eating. So, and his organs cannot handle this, I must tell you. Because the thing is this: after eating this food, the liver has to go into an overdrive mode to detoxify whatever toxins are there. The kidneys will have to excrete most of the waste products. the pancreas has to secrete enormous amounts of insulin to prevent hyperglycemia. So this is where insulin resistance kicks in. Because after a while, the pancreas gives up. It can't even make the biologically effective insulin products. So it just gives up, and then things go haywire from there. This is almost like, I would probably say, up to 5,000 calories they're going into him for one meal. So that's not what should be done. It should be everything in moderation.
I traveled home and I met a cousin of mine, and I had not seen him for maybe 30 years. He looked so skinny. I'm not a doctor. I said, come, are you okay? He said he was diabetic. I said, let me check your sugar. He said, no, give me the food first. I said, before you eat, let's see what your sugar looked like. And I checked his sugar. It was close to 400. He still insisted that he should eat. He was not sure when he would get food again to eat. So you find out that everywhere you go, and when it shows diabetes, like all the health issues, people don't even have the knowledge, the basic knowledge of what is going on, what they should be doing. Whose fault is that? Is it the educational system? Is it the medical establishment in Nigeria? Why is it that people don't even understand what they are going through and the basic things they can do for themselves?
I think the government has failed the people, because I still remember when we were growing up, it wasn't a long time ago. But you could go to some of these hospitals or dispensaries or whatever they call them, with your minor illnesses, and they can at least make a diagnosis, a preliminary diagnosis, and then refer you to the teaching hospitals if need be. So there was a chain, right? Again, I said this earlier, I said the government has an interest to keep the people poor, right, and uninformed. It works for them, because with that they can go to IMF and World Bank. I'm from one of those developing. Yes, the word developing, but that's not what we should be calling it, developing country. And so I'm qualified for a loan, and so they give them the loan, because that individual, be honest with you, if it were, let's say, in some other place, there are other things that should have happened to that individual. You should have had access to at least bare minimum care, some amount, some insulin in whatever fashion. I mean, pets, dogs in this country, they develop diabetes and they get insulin. And human beings are not getting insulin in Nigeria.
Okay, so apart from insulin, even to test strips are very expensive. Most people cannot afford it in Nigeria. I want to pose a political question. If somebody becomes president of Nigeria and calls you to come and help in whatever form, be a minister, be whatever position, but how will you advise, or how will you advise the current people in charge, ministers, on what to do? Even the commissioner for health in Anambra State, let's start from that local. What can they do in this situation?
So there has to be a template. In other words, you have to have at least a 10-point plan to where you want to get within the 4-year term or whatever that you're going to be there for. That's one. Number two, you have to have eyes and ears all over the country reporting to you what's going on. You have to measure. You cannot improve anything without measuring it. That's why science is based on measurement. Everything we do is measured. There's nothing you have to measure. So then you have to provide benchmarks. In other words, maybe the minimum is every person that comes to a clinic must have blood sugar checked. That's minimum. And then the next level may be everybody with high blood sugar should be on some minimal form of care. Maybe it's just metformin only, right? But you build from there. Once it begins to build, right? This insulin we're talking about, people will find a way to bring insulin into the space. And the government can even subsidize insulin production in Nigeria. The producers will not have to pay taxes. They will be given ample opportunity to transport their products, and they have to work on power generation, because we have to refrigerate some of these things because they're polypeptides. So this is how it starts, but you have to have a national program that should be monitored, that should be benchmarked, and then you have minimum, and then as you build the minimum, you continue to grow it.
So when you were a medical student in Nigeria at UNN, how did they teach you about diabetes care? Knowing that it's not easy to find insulin, it's not easy to check your sugar, what people do at home in America. This continuous glucose monitoring, I don't know if it's gotten to Nigeria. Maybe it's only the people in Aso Rock that are using it. But what do they teach students, medical students in Nigeria, that is close to what is happening in other parts of the world?
I must say, the medical school curriculum at the University of Nigeria, and I would say in most universities in Nigeria, the curriculum is rigorous, okay? You have the textbooks that are used around the world. I mean, the textbook we just published will be available to people around the world. So they will be seeing that state-of-the-art care. They will understand it, all right? Now, the practical application, which is what you're talking about. Have you seen a person with a continuous glucose monitor? You know what I mean? They may not understand that at that granular level, but they will understand the principles, which is important. And then when it comes to physical examination, students from Nigeria and elsewhere, they are very good, because that's how they elicit all those signs and things they need to make a firm diagnosis, as opposed to maybe somebody who is being trained, let's say in the developed world, that once you finish, you can order lab tests and imaging studies and so on, and those will come to you quickly, and then you confirm your diagnosis. So they may not pay huge attention to the particulars. There are little things that you signs that you elicit in the third world that you may not need to elicit in the first world, but they are very, very important. So the curriculum in both places, they are rigorous. The emphasis may vary slightly, but it is robust.
I had a doctor on the show recently, and I wanted to find out the difference in the training between doctors in Nigeria and the training that people get here, especially with a relationship with patients, how they treat patients, what the patients have as rights, or what they consider the rights of patients. It's something as simple as the right to know the medication they are giving them, the name, the right to consult their family, to treat them. And I don't remember the answer he gave. That tells me that maybe you can give us an answer that we can understand. Why is the difference, the treatment of patients in Nigeria, I don't know about the African countries, and the way patients are treated in the West?
So in the West, in the United States in particular, it is patient-centric. So the care is centered around the patient, right? So the patient has a say in what happens. If the patient says they don't want a procedure, you cannot proceed. You may even have to go to court to obtain court order to then override the wishes of the parent when you think that life is at threat. So that's patient-centric. That's the Western model. In Nigeria, it is physician-centric. The physician has the final say. The physician can, almost do and undo. And that is wrong, because the fact that the physician can do and undo leaves room for mistakes, leaves room for delayed care, leaves room for all kinds of, other things to come in between the care that the patient needs at that point in time. So I prefer the Western model, where the patient who has a disease is at the center of care.
Who gave us that model? The one we have, physician-centered care. How did we?
Yeah, it's one of those colonial appendages that we got, and that is the way it has gone from time. Though the physician is at the center to start with, then over time people started looking at the ethics of medicine. You remember some of these very horrible experiments they did in some areas of the world where physicians were in charge. So then they modified that and came up with all these declarations, Helsinki Declaration, what they call autonomy and beneficence. So whatever you're doing has to benefit the patient in research. And the patient has the autonomy to say yes or no. You can't force it. So the problem with the British system of care is that it is not progressive. It's very static. I wish Nigeria would have moved away from this physician-centric care to patient-based care. That's why patients can sue doctors. Because some doctors, I'm sorry to say, may not always be delivering the best care for their patients.
Yeah. In Britain, I thought, have they not moved away from that?
Well, look at the British system is going through this issue. So the National Health Service, NHS, right? It is still, it is because it's government controlled. So it's still, the physicians are taking orders from the government, and then the patients are just there. I mean, the patients have their rights, don't get me wrong, but it's not as strong as in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, we now identified, difficulties, challenges, both in the educational system, the structure we have, and government failures. What about citizens, regular citizens? How are they going to be able to lead a change in their own health care in Nigeria? Or are they helpless? Because I have family members that you could say, I'm sick, I'm suffering from this. What are you suffering from? I don't know. Ask the doctor. He won't tell me. They're afraid of talking to the doctor. Nurses, they slap patients for not following instruction. Where did that come from?
That should not happen. I think people in Nigeria should understand that if somebody steps on their rights as citizens, they should just get a lawyer. I know they don't have the money for the lawyer, but I hope somebody can also open an avenue to make legal services available to patients so they can sue some hospitals. So that's the start. Rights of individuals.
There is this issue that maybe you can explain it better for people watching at home. The idea that if you are sick, let's say someone is having a heart attack, someone was injured, and you are taken to a hospital in Nigeria, a clinic, and it's an emergency, you have to pay. You have to buy, they call it what did they say? Buy card before you see a doctor. So there's no emergency system where someone is unconscious, brought to the hospital, they start trying to revive the person. Nothing like that. We don't even have ambulances.
You are so right. In the United States, we have this thing called EMTALA law, emergency medical treatment and resuscitation law, meaning if somebody shows up in the emergency room, you don't have to ask questions. You provide stabilization care. After that, then you can ask questions. Because if you ask questions before delivering the care and all this, they will sue your hospital, and sue you to insolvency. So, and that works. We need that law in Nigeria. If somebody is denying care to people just because they don't have money, then that hospital should really either not be functional or reform. Let's put it that way.
Okay, now after many years of practicing and doing research, you and a colleague of yours put up this new book, Pediatric Diabetes, published by Springer this month. So, who is this book for?
This book is for everybody. So in the process of editing this book, we made sure that the language, they're not like crazy medical terminologies. We try to make it a book, create a book that anybody can read anywhere in the world. And it wasn't just authored by physicians, scientists in the United States. We stepped out of the United States and brought people in from Brazil, from India, and to contribute some chapters. And so this is for a book for everyone. Even though it's called Pediatric Diabetes, it's for adult and pediatric. For example, some types of diabetes like Wolfram syndrome, it cuts across, and some of them don't even want to leave pediatric care, even when they're adults, because we have followed them for life. Some things like cystic fibrosis related diabetes, they don't want to leave pediatric care because we follow them for life. And, we have at the cutting edge of the research for cure and the therapeutics in those conditions. Even type 1 diabetes, there are people who don't want to, leave the services. So it cuts across.
Okay. So I saw on Amazon that is for the price is $150 for this book.
Mm-hmm.
How many medical schools in Nigeria can afford it? I'm not talking about individuals. How many medical schools in Nigeria?
No, I think you're okay. I think that question is not correct. You know why I say this question is not correct? One, Nigeria is an oil-producing nation. Nigeria has this yearly allocation to medical schools in Nigeria. So $159 for an important textbook is nothing to Nigeria. Let's stop making ourselves look small in that country. But so let me just put it that's where I'm going to answer the question. Because the narrative out there is that Nigeria is a poor country. It's not true. The medical schools in Nigeria are poor. It is not true. Once you remove corruption and make corruption a capital offense, all those things will reverse.
Okay, so why I said that is that I have a friend who is in the medical field too, and he's been trying to encourage his colleagues in Nigeria to read journals, medical journals, and their complaint is that some of the subscription to these journals are more than what they make in a month.
Do you want me to answer the question?
Yeah. I mean, is that not a legitimate concern that some of these people practicing in Nigeria or in Africa, they have?
So most institutions in the world have the ability to subscribe to medical journals for their faculty, students, and ancillary staff. In fact, there's a web portal in this country that if you are moving around the United States, you should be able to access free journals as you move around once you are logged into that portal. Okay. Now, we have these wealthy people in Nigeria. They can actually use that money and create subscriptions for one institution or the other as a way of giving back to the society. And I believe that somewhere in the budgetary allocation to universities and teaching hospitals, there's a provision for online journals. Finally, some of the online journals are free because sometimes you pay the article processing charges and make it openly available around the world. So there shouldn't be those excuses. They have to do their homework a little bit more.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I know that you have a foundation. Beyond the foundation, you also give back to your alma mater, University of Nigerian Zucker Medical School. How has that been going?
Yes, let me talk about the University of Nigeria aspect. So in 2012, I went to, I have been going to University of Nigeria to give lectures whenever I traveled. So, I was there and I met one of our professors, Professor Onwubere, and he told me that the students were interested in research, but they didn't have any seed money to get going and all that. So I came back, I got 10 to 12 of my former classmates and said, we have a little problem in Nigeria. And they all agreed, you know what I mean, that we should do something. So then every year we will we'll contribute some money, put it together, release requests for proposals from the University of Nigeria. And I understand that they are now spreading it to other institutions as well. And so we'll receive the proposals, we'll review them ourselves, and then we will score them. And then we fund the ones that they are meritorious. And we've been doing that since 2012. And it's done well. I met somebody in Massachusetts maybe 3 or 4 years ago who was part of that, who won the award, and he's now doing his PhD, I think, at the University of Massachusetts. So he came up to me and said, I know you, but true. I said, yeah. So that's a pathway. And that's working very well. But it's working well because we are partnering with them, but we are also in charge of the process. So that's for the University of Nigeria. And I thank my classmates for really seeing the need for it and then joining in that process. The other one is the foundation that we formed after the passing of my mother, who has always been very supportive of education and, trying to make sure that students who come to our house asking for support got something, and so on and so forth. So we made it a little official. And so through that, we are sponsoring academic excellence at the secondary school level, both for the boys and girls school. And also we established this in our own village called Akama Academic Club. So, and we have that. And then through that also the primary school where I went to, I was told that these pupils were taking classes sitting down on the floor. Can you imagine that? So we had to start providing them with benches at school and all that. So, and then as things happened, even the town came and said they needed support for something they're doing and all. So all those things, it's expanding and all that. I mean, we are happy to give back. Let's put it that way. So we are really happy to give back.
Let me, maybe I should play this video of one of the events that took place when you went back to Nigeria recently.
In education and empowerment, the Benjamin Udoka Nwosu Foundation was officially inaugurated at Akama Village, Ibuku, honoring outstanding students and community leaders while reinforcing the legacy of academic excellence in the kingdom. The inauguration featured the presentation of academic plaques to Girls Secondary School Ibuku for achievements in women empowerment, leadership and academic excellence, and to Boys Secondary School Ibuku for outstanding performance in academic domains, where Professor Benjamin Nwosu was further honored with a special recognition award by the Boys and Girls Brigade of Holy Trinity Church Ibuku and a certificate of appreciation from the chairman of Ngo Progressive Union, Chief Umanoka. Professor Nwosu, the founder of the foundation, who is also a professor of pediatrics in Zucker School of Medicine, Hofstra University, USA, and chief of endocrinology at Cohen Children's Medical Center, New York, USA, has empowered brilliant students in Ibuku, investing in intellectual growth and nurturing future leaders, aims to broaden the foundation's reach and impact within the community.
Yes, we've been sponsoring people for years, but quietly and all that. But look at all these bright girls and boys who won prizes today, you know. My expectation is that they will continue to rise, they continue to do better and then go far in life.
The event, which was coincided with the one-year anniversary of the passing of Dame Mabel Nwosu, Professor Nwosu's mother, Venerable Obiagwoso led prayers of gratitude, acknowledging the positive contributions of Professor Nwosu to Igbo-Ukwu and his support for the Venerable Obiagwoso Women Empowerment Ministry. The occasion also featured speeches from notable dignitaries, including Chief Barrister MCK Oba, President General of Igbo-Ukwu Development Union, Engineer Emeka Okafor, Chairman of Tomek Technical Lead, who spoke on the future of artificial intelligence in Africa, His Royal Highness Igwe Alex Ejike Mowa Azike, Idu III of Igbo-Ukwu, Professor Anyahie, Vice Chancellor of UNIZIK, Professor Onodugu, Chief Medical Director of UNTH Enugu, Honorable.
AI is not a rocket science. Important we begin to prepare this younger generation, the older one, to welcome this knowledge because it's transformational. Always watching. God
for today actually is a day to remember. So, and I'm happy to participate. And I also thanking everybody that make our time to be present here today. I really appreciate each and every one of you.
Umanoka, PG of Ngo Igbo-Ukwu, and Chief Gabriel Ezewankwo Ide of Akama. The celebration concluded with a dancing competition between students of Ngo Ihite and Obiuno, followed by
All right, so it's wonderful. I was really impressed by the fact that somebody in Igbo-Ukwu is talking about AI. That was quite impressive for me. But also, you know, it's a wonderful thing you are doing for your people. You look relaxed at home, and is there a sign that there's politics in the future? Are you you fitted very well, like you are going to be a politician, but when you retire, anyway. But so how is this? You've done well, you know, and this idea of giving back to the society and helping the next generation. Of young, especially young people who are in school. There are so many bright people in schools across Africa. Some of them may not have opportunities to reach their highest potential because of lack of resources. And what do you say to people outside of Africa, especially the people in the West who are professionals in different fields, have succeeded wherever they are? how do you talk to them about giving back?
Thank you. I would say, do not wait, because the yield from the little that you can transfer over there will be quite remarkable. So do not wait. Even if you want to give $250 every year, do it. $500 every year, do it. $1,000 every year, do it. But start. Because these young children time is not on their side. And so if you can help them, even by stocking current books in their libraries, because most libraries in Nigerian schools have outdated books. So this is good. This is actually a good thing you brought up now. Can we have our experts look into how they can donate 5 books per year to any library in Nigeria? Just do it. If 250 people can do this, we're going to transform the lives of these children at home. So that's number one. The other thing is, people always go around looking for happiness. Let me tell you, the level of happiness I felt looking at those young people receiving those awards, and then dance. They had a dancing competition for children later that evening. So that's really what life is about.
Yeah, you talked about what the kind of what reward you get for giving and for helping out. Especially, I get just like everybody abroad, you get called and you hear about people who are doing very well, young kids, and having difficulties in being able to go to school, and it's always like you said, it's always important not to wait to think when you are settled, when you solved all your problems abroad. You can never solve all your problems, and if you contribute in little way, it helps to secure tomorrow, which is what we hope for as we get to middle age and think about retirement.
Let me say 2 things quickly as well. You know that over time, I have also wanted to support journalism in Nigeria. And I want to see how that can be done, because I know that our journalists are one of the most severely abused professionals in Nigeria for so many reasons. They may have the stories, but they are not able to break the stories. So we should create I plan to create something, an award for journalism in Nigeria, that should be handed out every year. The second thing I want to also say is that something like your program, I mean, I don't know how you do it, but this is an African-wide enterprise. And what I would say is this: for those who donate to you and all that, my foundation will be able to match any donation to your platform for this program. So, we should be able to do that to encourage the exceptional work that you do.
Wow, thank you. Should we clap? I don't have people in the platform, but they will soon come. But thank you so much. We'll work out the modalities and see how that will work out. But that's really, I appreciate that, because you're right. When we do some of these things, people don't understand from outside. They don't understand the challenges we face, and they want us to do more, but we don't have the resources to do more. And we want to do more because we are not at the point where we should be. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Nwosu. So we take a break, and when we come back, we bring you in, people who want to interact with him. If you have questions about diabetes, about the hope and breakthrough, or anything he talked about during this program, we will welcome you and welcome comments from people. And we can also take questions from those on the comment section. Again, thank you so much for watching. We take a 3 minutes break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining our conversation today with Professor Benjamin Nwosu. It's been very enlightening and very interesting. You can see some of your comments. We appreciate you. This is a section where we now bring you in to share your ideas, comments, or questions for our guests. So if you're in the studio and you want to be part of that, please turn on your camera. We can bring you in. As I'm doing that, there's a question that someone asked on the comment section that you should talk about insurance, health insurance. Do we have it in Nigeria? I know there are efforts by different governments over the years to have something like that, but I don't think it's functional as far as I know in many parts of the country. What do you know, and how is that possible to have the kind of modern health care we are looking for without health insurance?
They used to have this thing in Nigeria, but corruption destroyed everything. So private individuals are establishing health insurance systems. Even some states are also establishing it. So it's there. And people should avail themselves of this health insurance. I think this is the kind of thing that people should be discussing, maybe during funerals or in churches or in gatherings of towns, to make sure that people sign up for it and explain to them how important it is because of the high cost of healthcare in Nigeria.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Let's let me go around people who are in the studio, and when I call you, find out your best question and ask, so that or comments. Then we go from there. Mr. James, you are first.
Yes, thank you very much for coming. I'm sure you can hear me, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good. Please, Mr. Rodo, kindly permit me to make a brief comment with a question.
Okay.
If you don't mind, please.
Okay.
Good. I had a brother who died some years ago. When he fell sick, he contacted a doctor and he was diagnosed of anemia. So we started giving him the recommended treatment. The situation was getting worse. So another medical officer saw him and demanded from us, what is wrong with this man? He told him he's suffering from anemia. He said, well, he has anemia, but there's something else other than anemia. We should follow it up immediately. So when we got to him, we decided to contact another medical officer who diagnosed this guy of cancer. He was not suffering from anemia. We were giving him wrong treatment. Maybe you remember the test called case in Alabama. Something very similar. Eventually, he died of cancer. Well, I do not regret his death because he would have died anyway because cancer has no cure. But he suffered severely because of what the medical officer did to him. That is that. So I do not know where you graduated from UMN. The Nigeria of today is in tatters. It's not only the medical schools, journalism, the courts, the justice system, the justice system, the school, the entire country from the state house, Abuja, to family level, the entire country is in tatters. So I don't want to ask any question about Nigeria. So the question I want to ask you is a medical question. I read a book published in 1979. The title is Pigeon Project by Abu Wallace. He was discussing the possibility of life eternal. In the medical sciences, you guys are strides in terms of development. Brain surgery is not possible. Organ transplant, so many innumerable accomplishments to the credit of medical researchers. I just want to find out from you, will medical science be able to conquer death in due course? Is it possible?
All right.
Because if brain surgery is not possible, heart transplant, kidney transplant, organ transplant in general, blood transfusion, will death ever be conquered by medical science? That is the question. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So that's an important question. And the good thing about science is that science is very bold. Science is always asking the next question. Now, when I was a fellow at the National Institute of Health, part of the bench research I did was to see whether there's this thing called telomere. Telomere is like a shoelace, the thing you have at the tip of the shoelaces that hold the shoelaces in place. So they're at the end of the chromosomes and they hold the chromosomes together. If your body is able to produce an enzyme that prevents those telomeres from eroding, from getting shorter, right? The enzyme is called telomerase. Then you will live for a very long time. And then you will not be subjected to some of these diseases that arise from undue cellular death called apoptosis. Therefore, if somebody's going to find a way to activate our natural telomerase system so that it continues to preserve the chromosomes, we will live for a long time. Now, immortality, I can't sit here and say, yes, we are going to achieve immortality, because other things will come with immortality too. You may not be able to preserve all the cells in your system, even though you are living for a very long time. For example, the cells of the eyes may die, right? And so the person becomes blind, but he's still okay. The cells of the inner ear may go and the person becomes dead, but the person is still living. So there are things we have to also take into consideration as we think of immortality, but it is something that people are looking into.
So thank you, Mr. James. I don't want to be involved in this conversation, but it's interesting. So does it mean that Methuselah, the story in the Bible that he lived up to that number of years, could that be true? Yeah.
I don't want to talk about the Bible here. Let's just stay with.
All right. Also here, you are next.
Okay. Good day, Professor of Medicine, and my fellow panelists here, and Dr. Damages, and the show, other people in the background making the show possible. Professor, I have to commend you for putting together this book. I've not read it, but I've read some of the introduction. And I know, knowing you are an excellent physician. And so I have issues with diabetes research. And Rudolph Otopo said earlier that millions of people in Nigeria are developing diabetes. In the next count, it might be 50 million, not just in Nigeria, in Africa, sorry. So diabetes, is it not diabetes epidemic? During COVID, it took them a month, 2 months to come up with prevention, and it's taken more than 100 years for any major breakthrough to happen in diabetic treatment. And so I am concerned that there might be monetary areas, part of this that's preventing brilliant professors like you to come up with a cure. And I just read one university in China that is actually providing cure for diabetes through stem cell research. They came up with the cure from stem cell. So I don't know if that is, if you already read that. I read that, so I wasn't sure. I wanted to confirm that somehow, if the role of stem cell could also lead to cure for diabetes in this Western world that we are living in. So I want to touch on that, and I'd like you to make a comment on that. And I have something else that I want to talk about on the same diabetes issue. There are treatments that we have now, revolutionary, I can call them revolutionary treatments, like Mounjaro, like Ozempic. Those are, prevents you from, pricking your hands all the time, your fingers all the time. if these are considered replacements for insulin, or are just there are standalone kind of treatment. Not you can also use them and also use insulin while you are using one of these revolutionary medication they brought out. So that you can make comments on these, and then we can go to the other ones, please.
Okay, thank you so much for the questions. I will try to see how I can go through them. Number one, the issue with diabetes research and getting to the insulin-free state, which is the target, is that diabetes, as we know it, type 1 and type 2 diabetes, they are not caused by one single gene. That's the problem. They are caused by a number of genes coming together. And so you cannot inherit them in an autosomal dominant fashion. Okay. So then when you target these polygenic diseases, it's often not easy because you're just throwing things at different genetic loci. That is the problem. So that's at the genetic level. Then the next level is at the level of autoimmunity for type 1. Even though we believe that it is due to autoimmune agents attacking the beta cells and killing the beta cells, but other people have found out that actually the process of cellular death is also internal to the cell itself. There are signals in the cells that have programmed it to die. All right. And then the third thing is, for example, cystic fibrosis related diabetes. That one has nothing to do with autoimmunity, insulin resistance, or whatnot. It's just the inability of the pancreas to do its function very well that causes that type of diabetes. Then you come to the mitochondrial diabetes, like Wolfram syndrome, which is due to mutations in genes called WFS1. That one has nothing to do with all these other pathogenic pathways I just discussed. It's just there in the mitochondria. And so you can begin to see how complicated it is, right? The issue with COVID is that we knew there was a virus, COVID virus, and then we knew what this virus could do. And then we know that if we induce immunogenicity, we can bring down the impact, right? But remember, up to today, HIV virus, there's really no cure for HIV disease itself. You know what I mean? So it's still there, hanging around. And other viruses in the system that we know, they haven't found, cure, just like they did for some others. So, and remember I said that there is this eternal flame in Canada burning at the house of Dr. Banting's house, which will be put out when there's a cure for diabetes. So people are working, people are fighting for it. Let me give you another example. Sickle cell disease. People used to say, oh, sickle cell, they let it run rampant because it's affecting Africans. Okay. But now, using gene therapy, they have been able to cure somebody with sickle cell. Here in New York, where in fact in my own hospital, Northwell, so that's where they did it. But if I tell you how long it takes to even bring a patient on board, it takes 1.5 years to get to that final phase of introducing that gene cocktail into the individual through the viral vector. So these are not easy questions. Then I come to your GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1 receptor agonists like Ozempic and so on and so forth. Those are very helpful because if they help people to reduce the amount of food they eat and also the hunger, then insulin resistance will decrease. Body weight would also come down. And with that, the body can begin to handle less and work more efficiently. But remember, people with type 2 diabetes may come off treatment when they are on GLP-1, But that does not turn off that apoptotic drive that I talked about in the pathogenesis. It's still going on. And if that person lives very long, there will come a time when all the beta cells will die off, right? So then to effectively manage them, you have to introduce some insulin, because somebody had that question in the bar. I saw something pop up for people with type 2 diabetes. And then let me see. I think I addressed most of your questions. I hope I addressed them.
Yes, let me give others chance to ask questions and follow up. I will come back later about the practice of medicine, because you touched on it earlier on. Practice of medicine in Nigeria and the experiences that I had in Nigeria, and the family members do have. So we'll get back to that. So let me allow others to get engaged.
Yes,
Thank you.
would like to talk about that too.
All right. So before I come to the next person here, let's take a question on the comment section. This is a question from Colata. Why is insulin still a treatment of choice for type 2? Was it the one you were referring to in the last answer you gave?
Yeah, that's the thing. So yes, so remember, for somebody to go into insulin resistant stage, right? Two things are going on. One, the body is making much more insulin, right? But the problem with type 2 diabetes is that they have what is called post-receptor defect from adiposity. So the more fat you accumulate, the more the post-receptor signals are no longer able to move smoothly, all right? So that's why when people lose weight, they can come off medication, because you decrease that post-receptor issue. So people with type 2 diabetes sometimes may not make effective insulins too. So that's why they need exogenous, meaning coming from outside, exogenous insulin therapy. I hope that helps with the question.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the next person. I think I'm picking up Emmanuel Onyedeka. You're next.
Yeah. Good evening, doctor. This is my first appearance in the show. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Based on what Dr. Benjamin said, as respect to private hospitals, how would they be sustained when such laws is out there to make it possible for individuals who doesn't even have money for treatment to be treated? So if they continue that process over a period of time, how would they be able to sustain their businesses?
Yeah. So the thing is this. Let's put it this way. Not everybody should go into private practice. There should be rules and regulation on how private practices should function. Because if you are only turning away people without money and servicing people with money, are you really practicing medicine? You know, we have a semblance of that problem in the West, where people on private insurance companies get better treatment than those on government insurance, because the reimbursement is lower for the government-owned insurances, right? But at the baseline, they give you that care. It's the same thing in Britain, where you have the National Health Service. So what we're asking for is that baseline care. So on one hand, I understand your question and what needs to be done, but government has to come in and see this as a problem and maybe subsidize the care for those private practitioners, because it's a real problem. They have to exist, they have to make money, they have to make profit. It's business. So government has to come in.
Sorry, I think the advocacy is supposed to be that should be a national healthcare, not to regulate private hospitals and to mandate them to treat everybody who comes there. Because to be a kiosk, we know the importance or the little role every private, you can call it a quack, private hospitals or clinic out there play in the society when they are being, bombarded with such laws. You see, it's very difficult.
I agree with you. Honestly, I agree with you that whatever the government comes up with should be something that will protect those private clinics so they can, operate. I agree with you because it takes a while to pass, come out of medical school and then you want to, make some money and help your family and everything. And so, but it's a question of ethics. It's a question of politics. It's a question of leadership at the highest level in the country. But I absolutely agree with your point.
All right, thank you, Onyedika. Let's go to a comment question on the comment section, and then we'll come back to. This is Nwachukwu. It says the question is, what is the major impediments for doctors in diaspora collaborating with government hospitals back home for research exchange of students and transfer of care?
Well, they are doing it. We're doing it. I just talked about our research program at UNN and elsewhere. We're doing it. The issue is this. Those doctors are also, they're under stress. And I can't even describe the level of stress they are under because sometimes they go for months without being paid. Okay. So that's serious. Most of them are running their own clinics in addition to the work they are providing at the teaching hospitals and all whatnot. So there are a lot of issues that take them away from the core practice of academic medicine, which should not be. It should be handled by the federal government. They should really be paid very well. There was one minister who made a very, very regrettable statement that Nigerian doctors can leave the country if they wish or something. I happen to be a medical doctor from what I understood. So such careless statements do not raise the morale of the doctors in Nigeria. But they are marvelous people,
That minister is my uncle. I'm just saying, it's my uncle. Ovia, you're next.
Thank you, our real doctor, not the Akanchawa. Two short questions, sir. Appreciate your time. Currently, under the current administration, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they have a policy framework under the Ministry of Health. They call it a one for one match. The idea is to target this jackpot syndrome and brain drain. So they are essentially taxing countries like UK governments to that if they are going to recruit one publicly trained Nigerian healthcare worker, like you, you attend a public institution in Nigeria, that they should invest in training another local worker to replace them. And one of the suggestions is what they call a bilateral education corridor, establishing UK support training school on Nigerian soil, so that healthcare workers are produced at a higher volume, explicitly preparing some for exports while ensuring guarantee for surplus homestay. So I'm kind of curious what you think about such a policy or what such a drive. The second one is about the also agreement, the UMO signed by the Nigerian government with the United States. They signed a $5.1 billion healthcare agreement that directs support funding over 900 Christian faith-based care facilities. I wonder what you think about that. That a national policy should be, directly taken to a particular faith. If you ask me, at the expenses of another faith, because this is coming in line with what they target as Christian genocide that is currently going on that they are protecting. So I wonder what you think about
Thank
this.
you. Yeah, thank you so much. But let me ask you one simple question before I give my answer, okay? Was there any response from the UK government on that request by the government of Nigeria?
Well, it's in disguise. They put it in the scheme when remember when Tinubu visited the King Charles in this part of the volume of agreement they went into. So
yes, okay, thank you. So you see, this is the problem with some, not all, African countries. You create a problem, right? And then you try to get someone else to solve your problem. Why? We're talking about a nation that produced people like Professor Ayaji, Professor Deku, Professor Obi, and all these people who, I mean, if they had continued their work in Nigeria, there's no way Nigeria wouldn't be competing at the highest level. So the idea that you produce one doctor and then that doctor goes to Britain and then Britain is going to give you something to start producing another one for Britain. Is it not stupid? It's stupid for the government, okay? But I'm glad you brought it up so we could address it. Then the second one, yeah, I don't want to. I don't like mixing religion and politics. Okay, I don't like that. So whatever Nigeria and agreement Nigeria and the US are going into, they should make it to favor every Nigerian. Now, I also want Nigeria to make sure that they are using the same criterion to admit students into university. You don't use a different cutoff mark for one state and another cutoff mark for another state and call it, I don't know whether it's equity or not or what. Because these people may end up being doctors. And then you can imagine going under the surgical knife in a suite with a doctor who was not qualified from get-go. What are the chances of survival? He wouldn't know which artery he's cutting or which nerve he's moving. So.
All right. Thank you so much. I think the next person we have is KJ. Well, before KJ speaks, let me play this video quickly. I know that Professor Nwosu mentioned it, but most people may not know. It's very important that we. Okay, I'm not ready with the video. As soon as I get it, I will share it with you guys. Let me go to you, KJ. You're next.
Okay. Thank you, Rudolph, for having me. Prof, thank you. Thank you so much for the good work you're doing. I pray that many of you will, in fact, you multiply your kind in the Southeast especially, and in Nigeria in general. If people of substance like you were doing what you are doing, I'm sure that Nigeria would have been far better place. A majority of us would have been back home enjoying the good breeze that we enjoy in our villages. Yes. So I just, you have spoken a lot, and I really appreciate what you've said. I followed all your discussion. I really enjoyed it. I've been educated and enlightened. I lost a friend who, very good childhood friend of mine and my best man. He died of high blood pressure together with a complication of diabetes. He got, he went to the chemist, and the chemist, we don't know what he gave him, but he fell down on the floor there and died almost instantly. So the question be, is it correct for people to go to a chemist and then the chemist, prescribes for them an injection and gives them that? Because we couldn't even pursue the case, and the family of the guy were dragging their leg. They didn't want to pursue the case, so I couldn't go, to do what I needed to do. And then that's one. Two, Prof, why is it difficult? The disease called breast cancer and fibroid is mostly found in Black women. Why have the government of Nigeria, that has majority of the Black people on earth, never thought it useful to institute a research to bringing about the end of this thing that's mostly damaging majority of the Black women? I mean, what does it take for such is it that they stopped us from being able to research into our own diseases, or what does it take? Why is nobody talking about it? And a professional like you who know exactly what it takes, have you been able to advise the government in this kind of research so that at least majority of our women, our mothers and our sisters and daughters can be free from this? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Let me on the issue of chemists. I'm going to say this the way I want to say it, then I will qualify it. Okay, chemists are dangerous because the antihypertensive medication they gave to the person that passed, one, nobody knew what the dosage was for that individual. That should really, so that what I'm hearing is that they gave that medication, the person collapsed and died. That tells you that what happened, that it was given a higher dose than necessary. And it induced what's called vasodilatation. So the vessels basically relaxed. And when vessels relax, blood pulls from head to toe. And once the brain doesn't get the blood flow, the person has to fall. Okay, so that's what happened there. And it's unfortunate. Usually, if you are treating somebody with hypertensive emergency, you set up monitoring, monitors, seeing what the blood is going, and then you are infusing the antihypertensive. So you are seeing, with the dynamometer, you are seeing how the blood pressure is moving, whether the person needs more or less until they come out of that critical phase. Then you go into oral medication. So I'm just going to say, chemists are dangerous. I know that people are using them because what else do you have? But that's what it is. So the other one is the breast cancer and the fibroid. Oh, that's a very important question. I mean, you have to go to the women's wards in most of our teaching hospitals, and you see these women with what we call suppurative breast cancer. So it is forming pus and the draining and all that. And honestly, I'm just saying this for the first time, the protocols they are using, I'm not sure they are up to date, because you see people with breast lumps and they will be treating them with chemotherapy, medications. When you should go in and remove the lump first, make sure you did a wide surgical removal, and then you can then go with all these other approaches instead of leaving it there and trying chemotherapy. And I'm telling you, this thing is serious. I agree with you. I had a family member who, thank God that it was just the same story I'm just telling, but luckily somebody removed the lump. And when they got to the teaching hospital, they were mucking around and doing or whatever. But the most important thing was that the lump was removed, subjected to pathological analysis, and so we were able to stage the tumor and know whether it had spread or not. But this is important. They don't even have to do the basic research of breast cancer molecular biology, but all they need to do is to create a working protocol. When a woman walks into the clinic with a lump in her breast, what do you do first within the week? And then some of these clinics are so fully booked that these women don't get any appointment for weeks and weeks and months. By then, the cancer had spread. So I agree with you. It's a big problem for women, needing advocacy at all levels.
All right, thank you, KJ. Let's go to CM, and CM, you have a chance for one question or a comment.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rudolph. From the UK, I will say good evening to Professor Nwosu. Nwanna, abụ m onye Ezinifite. Ịga Igbo Ukwu, ọ bụrụ Ezinifite.
Yes.
So nke a bụ nke anyị. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for coming. So thank you very much for coming. I've looked forward. I think I've mentioned it to Rudolph one time. I think that was the time he attended the seminar or whatever you gave then. So he posted it, and then I replied and I suggested that it would be nice to bring you on our platform for you to share your ideas. And now you are here. First, let me congratulate you. Let me congratulate you on your award from the American Diabetes Association for your work as a life-saving researcher. Life-saving. Not just but life-saving researcher. As a pediatric diabetologist and physician, you are not a pushover. So what I want to ask, and I've read through quickly some of your publications. I just saw the titles. Maybe you are much more interested in vitamin D. Vitamin D as a the disease association of vitamin D and maybe type 1 diabetes and what it entails. But what I want to ask, because I've also did a small project work on diabetes, but it wasn't published. What I want to ask, given your years of experience and researching, Rudolph, am I coming out very well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Given your years of research and expertise in diabetes, do you really think that the pathophysiology of diabetes has been fully understood? I ask this question because I was told that diabetes is an inflammatory process. It is also an autoimmune disease. Who knows, it can still be another thing. So I'm asking, from your experience, if you are to say as an authority and an expert, has the pathophysiology of diabetes been fully, as of 2026, been fully understood?
No.
Thank you.
No, the answer is no, because so one is it depends on the type of diabetes you're talking about, but I believe you're talking about type 1 diabetes,
Yes.
which is the one that we believe is based on autoimmune attack of the pancreatic beta cells. Now, it was back in early 1980s that George Eisenbarth released the model that we call the classic model, which is the destruction over time of the beta cells by immune triggers that results in final clinical diabetes, right? But recently, people are also looking at what's called the functional pathogenesis, meaning the cells are fine, nothing is going on, but they are not able to function. So that is also where we are coming in with our vitamin D, because we're showing that with vitamin D, high dose, you are able to help the conversion of proinsulin to insulin and C-peptide, right? And we're the first to show that. So that's something new. And we just published a recent paper of a 12-year-old boy who is seen somewhere in Atlanta. The parents contacted us after the diagnosis, and we put the kid on high-dose vitamin D. And they did it religiously for 3 years. And that kid is still in honeymoon phase. So we published that paper last month, showing how this thing can change the game. So no, the pathophysiology of type 1 diabetes has not been fully elucidated. Even type 2 diabetes, there are other things that people are still seeing, even though we believe it's a combination of increased apoptosis and insulin resistance. The other types of diabetes, okay, something like Wolfram syndrome, which is coming from the mitochondrial dysfunction, that one has been clearly delineated. However, there is no treatment for it. So people are trying GLP-1s now, but it doesn't get to that mitochondrial machinery that you need to power back to provide the energy needed to sustain those cells that are dying at a faster rate. So there's more work to be done.
All right. CM, are you satisfied with that?
Okay. Thank you.
Let me take one more question. You have something to say?
I could have come with more questions. I could have come with more questions, but No. I would have loved to engage him more because I know he's a very interesting scientist and physician. So I would have loved to engage him more so that
We will come
take
back
more
to you.
lectures,
Let's
not
see if we
just
can
engage
come
you.
back to you.
Yeah, we can come back to you.
I get one question.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Doctor, my last one question. What do you think about the automated insulin delivery digital twin?
It's amazing. It's the way of the future. To combine the continuous glucose monitor and the insulin pump using an intermediary brain, which is the algorithm, the AI algorithm, right? To help lessen the burden of taking care of diabetes. The next step is to go from artificial pancreas to full pancreas. We're not there yet, but it's coming. I mean, there are some new pumps that all you need to do is to announce the amount of food you're going to eat. Just press a button saying small, medium, or large meal. That's it. You don't need to put any numbers in. The algorithm will just sequence the interpretation of that meal and work it into the bolus and the basal insulin delivery.
Is that a cure for Jackpot syndrome or aided Jackpot? Is it going to aid Jackpot or help us to stay?
Hold on. Let's take another question on the comment section. This one is from Easy. He wants to know, why do all or most politicians prefer to go abroad, overseas, for medical treatment? Is it a lower standard of care in Nigeria? I don't know if we got to that question, because I have a question about that. Why are politicians going abroad? Is it because we don't have good doctors or good hospitals in Nigeria? And again, of course, are there implications? Because I'm worried about when I hear that the president of my country is in France and they're doing medical work, check out and work up. I think about the security implications. What do you think of this?
There are two things here. Number one is paranoia. If I come to somebody's village and I steal 10,000 naira, and then 3 weeks later I come to that village for medical care, I'm taking my life in my hand, okay? So that is what's going on. If you steal billions from Nigeria and you end up in Nigerian hospital, that could really be it when you go under anesthesia. So then the second thing, which goes to what I call my theory of national economic index. Okay, this is now global economy. If the president of your country receives all his medical care in his country, then you are a developed nation. If the president of your nation goes outside your country to receive basic medical care, it doesn't matter what, you're a backward nation. So there's nothing about first world or developing and all this nonsense. Two categories, backward or developed, depending on what your president is able to do, taking his life in his hand, in his nation or outside.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, let's go. Let me give who wants this conscience. Okay, who was
I was asking now with the introduction of this AI and all that, what is going to be the impact in terms of the healthcare industry? And with that aid of a thing, aid the Jackpot syndrome, or that is a way to cocktail it?
Okay, I hope I understood this. What is Java? Is that a living?
The brain drain.
All right, sure. So AI has come to stay. There's no way we're gonna get this one out of the system, because now, we were doing this electronic medical system, it blew up in the last 7 years, right? Now they have this ambient listening where the doctor will just turn it on and just see the patient, and it will draft the note, and the doctor just needs to edit it and finalize it, right? And then and all these other things that are coming into play in the medical devices we use. Is it going to relieve the brain drain? Now, that's difficult to answer right now. For example, if Nigeria invests heavily in AI and becomes a hub of AI, becomes a place where people come for AI, of course it will, because would it will come that economic advantage to now grow it out in Africa. But if Nigeria is just going to be going to nations and be begging for AI and just bring something back and say, oh, we brought AI, nobody cares about that nonsense.
That's why when you say Nigeria and medical hub, I shake my head. So it's not that I'm disagreeing with you. I'm just saying our government, seeing that kind of vision is, I don't know, I think it's out of reach for them.
All right. Also here, go ahead. You're muted. Unmute yourself, please.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. First of all, I see some people and talk, Prof, you also giving, pumping Nigeria up. Nigeria is a place where professions go to die. And professionals and their professions, they go there to die. And some of them are actually literally die, they kill. And they know that they have a department of eradication of innovation in Nigeria. They know they have that. So it's not a place people, have high hopes in terms of medicine. And the last speaker, he was talking about, how the government coming into about AI and everything. You have to look at who your leader is, and then who follows your leader, and who follows that fellow. So that's the thing. You can't have someone like that and expect miracles to happen in the country. So let me go back to what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is in terms of practice of medicine in Nigeria, I think it's a disgrace to have the kind of doctors that Nigeria produces. It's a disgrace to have a doctor requesting for bribe to see a patient. It's a disgrace to see workers, healthcare workers, slapping and beating up. I was in one of the hospitals in the East, and this woman was having twins, and she went into labor, and the doctor left that woman there and went to his village to show his father his new car. And this woman was there. If you're walking by, you can hear her screaming. So I had to walk in to see why she keeps screaming. For more than an hour, I went to see someone else. She was sitting there. She was screaming. I went there, asked, where's the doctor? They said he went to show his father his car, his new car. Abandoned this woman from 10 a.m. until he came back at 2 a.m. the following day, 2 a.m. By that time, one of the babies already died inside. And he has to perform a surgery. The second baby died 2 days later. And this is the kind of treatment. And my daughter was born there prematurely, and I had to pay to use incubator. If I don't pay, they won't put an incubator, and they will die. Or they double the kids in one incubator, about two babies in one incubator. And when you're talking about that Nigeria has money, the budget goes into all these hospitals. By the time the budget goes into the health system, the entire line of staff, from Minister of Health to his assistant, to the budget director, to all of them, they are taking money out of that for their pockets. By the time it gets to the hospital, they don't have the money anymore. So we really need to understand the evil that is happening in Nigeria. We really need to understand the evil the so-called politicians are committing in Nigeria. So people are dying. My own sister was diagnosed. They said he had a what they call it, ulcer. And they went to this big university called LUT in Lagos, and waiting for professor for 3 months to see the professor, the so-called professor. The professor said he had ulcer. This woman was dying. By the time I said, this doesn't look like us anymore. So I brought her to the United States, and they came here, and that same night, they said she had cancer of the sarcoma, and it was too late. So they can't do anything, has only 1 month to live. But this was what they've been treating, the so-called professors or so-called people treating, and when you call the professor and say, are you sure this is, he gets angry at you. He said, if you don't understand what I'm telling, just take your sister. Take your sister and go anywhere you like. This is a professor of and that woman, my sister, died in the United States within 1 month because it was too late before he got here. So and my brother was beaten in Lagos to death, and he was sick. He was bleeding his ears. They took him to the hospital. The hospital refused to touch him. He said, "Oh no, you have to pay a deposit," because no one to pay deposit because the family members didn't know where he was. So this man died in the hospital, and a day later, because they were taking him from hospital to hospital. No hospital wanted to treat him because no deposits were done. So this is the kind of country that anybody that's calling a country said he has a country, calls a country. This is an evil country. And you have all these people that are fighting themselves to be president, who are not qualified to be president, who are evil human beings that want to be president. And when you have that kind of human being as a president, his ministers will be like him. So you're not expecting to get anything in return. So I am very, very concerned that that the practice of medicine and the teaching of medicine in Nigeria has become really, really a joke. And they have medical students in Nigerian universities had to pay bribes to professors to pass them. And how do you expect this person to be a medical doctor? And my neighbor in Abuja, his 5-year-old kid got fever. He went to the hospital. They killed this kid with too much IV. They keep putting IV, little 5-year-old. Had this, about 5 bottles of IV they put on this kid. This kid drowned in it and died. So, this is not, something is, in Nigeria is not something that, I know that some of you have this hope. I know that hope kills everything. But I don't have that hope that will cure anything. But hope kills everything. Let's hope that, people, Nigerian followers, we're not talking about leaders now, the followers, the fraction will begin to reason and begin to understand. Like in Imo State, a sitting governor wants to run for Senate in this, while he's still a governor. He's still gonna be a governor till next year, 2028, and he is still a governor. He's still a governor. He wants to run for Senate now, while he's still a governor. This is a mentality that is, the followers are the ones also purchasing ticket forms for him. So so I really need to, I don't want to go into politics because that's another story. But this one, the practice of medicine is sickening, and the students, medical students, paying bribes to professors, sleeping with professors so they can get their grades up is another sickness that's happening there. And, the same thing. So my father, they said he had diabetes. That so I went with him to the hospital. They brought that the meter to test him. The meter fell apart. All the batteries came off, and they put it together and with a band-aid. And then after they put the band-aid and they test him, and they said he had diabetes. I said my father doesn't have diabetes. I brought my own meter that I came back with. I said, let me do it because I wanted to do it in front of them. I said, let me do this. You see, he doesn't have diabetes. He was 88. I said, he doesn't have diabetes. So, and your own meter is reading of the thing, of the chart. So, so they don't have the equipment to practice medicine. They don't have the thing. They're brilliant ones, but they're not trained very well to be medical doctors. So I'm just put this thing out there. Hopefully someone is listening. And Professor, you know, I hope we can go make things. I will not advise you to go back to Nigeria to practice medicine, because first of all, they're gonna try to destroy your profession. They're gonna try to destroy everything you have learned over the years. And it's, like I said, a country that has a department to eradicate innovation. Nigeria has that department to eradicate innovation is there. So, so don't even bother. Don't even listen to any advice. You are doing what you have to do as charity. That's fine. But to go there and try to do, and I have a lot of stories, but I just let other people get involved in the conversation. But it's painful for what they're doing. That 5-year-old, they used what they call in Nigeria drip, those IV, killed this kid with so much IV, he drowned in it. And so I just, it's so painful when you talk about practice of medicine in Nigeria. It's sickening, and the sickness also, and we should begin to think what to do and how to get things done in that country, and stop electing all these fools they call leaders who are not even enough. They can't even manage their own families, and they have to run a country. So I just want to put this thing out there. They're all idiots.
Thank you so much. Sorry for your.
Sorry about the sad outcomes you just mentioned. I think, let me just say this again. If people that live abroad can come together, you don't have to come together under one umbrella. You can just do this, just come together, put some money aside and tell people, if somebody has violated your rights, we can get you a lawyer. Let the person and the lawyer duke it out. I think that is how the little thing we can do to change perception in our society. Because people are not going to court, they are not getting justice. Let it be discussed. Let it be discussed in the court of law. And then let's see how that goes. I'm just saying, Nigerians should start using the courts, because that may be the only language some of these people would understand.
Professor, the courts are not the place to go in Nigeria, because all of them are corrupt judges appointed by their own friends. They manage to get into government. They appoint them. Some of them are not even qualified to be judges. They're not even qualified to be lawyers in the first place, and they made them judges. And look at the rulings they're making in the political arena. The kind of rulings they're making. And in Imo State, someone that got 4th position, they made him governor. And the same thing everywhere. So I don't want to mention names, but I'm just saying that when you mention court in Nigeria, the court system is not working. It's not working for me and you. It's going to be working for the big people who has the money to pay the judges. So we just want to understand that.
Thank you so much. Your story made me remember this video I wanted to play. Made me remember this video I wanted to play for the professor. Let's see.
EFCC committed an abomination in Akwa Ibom State. Professor Eyoekpe was washing in for a surgery that he never did. Why? Because masked men from the EFCC entered the hospital, took out tinted bullets and fired tear gas inside the hospital. Patients ran, nurses ran, people on drips ran. According to NME, that's the Nigerian Medical Association, they beat this professor until he was bleeding from his forehead. Handcuffed him, dragged him outside the hospital with 3 other staff. Why? They wanted to verify medical reports. A piece of paper for somebody that committed fraud. Now, the EFCC has come out to say, we wrote 2 letters, but we didn't get any response. Fine. Let's say that that's exactly what happened. Let us assume that the hospital ignored every letter. Tell me, in what country does an unanswered letter justify tear gas in a ward? In what world does the answer to "we are not replying your emails" become poop marksmen with 2 buses into a place where people are fighting for their lives? There's a thing called court order. There's a thing called subpoena. There's a thing called the rule of law. None of these things require beating up a medical practitioner. And here's the thing nobody is even saying. Here's the part nobody is even saying. This Professor Ekpe had a patient on the table. We don't know that person's name. We don't know if they have children. We don't know if they made it. But we already noticed that the person is already a casualty. This person is one of the casualties of yesterday. Let me also tell you other casualties. Every other single patient who was supposed to be on the surgeon's list this week is casualty. The pregnant woman was supposed to be wheeled into a different theater when tear gas was fired in the corridor is already a casualty. The dialysis patient who could not get his dialysis done yesterday because staff scattered, casualty. The newborn in Niku, whose nurses ran to abandon them because of they are trying to save themselves, casualties. When you attack a hospital, you're not just attacking one man. You're injuring everybody he was about to save. You're injuring every other doctor in that building. It's simple maths. Simple. But there's even the longer one. We have less than 80 cardiothoracic surgeons for 220 million Nigerians. Other countries like USA has over 4,000 for 330 million people. Uyo has only 1, which is this particular surgeon. The entire state has lost its surgery capacity in 1 afternoon because of the EFCC. So when a young doctor in Abuja is seeing this video now, 28, what do you want them to do next? Open their laptop and jackpot. We've lost that person too. We're not just losing Professor Ekpe today. Oh. Yes. We're losing every other person, every other doctor who has watched this and decided that Nigeria is not safe for them anymore. How many doctors do we have in this country? So when your father has a heart attack at 3 a.m., when your sister goes into cardiac arrest during surgery, when your child is born and there's a hole in the heart, God forbid that be, is not our portion. Who do you think will be in the theater? EFCC? Or the surgeon that they chased out of the country? This is not even about EFCC versus doctors. It's about whether Nigeria still has the basic decency to treat a hospital like a hospital. So I'm calling on these people directly. Number 1 is the chairman of EFCC. Olanipekun Olukoyede. Discipline the officers who led this operation publicly, not a quiet redeployment, not a public sanction. Apologize to this professor, to UUTH, and to every Nigerian who has watched their hospital turn into a war zone. Then publish your agency's standard operating procedure for engaging with.
Okay, let's stop it there. I wanted to play this video for you at the beginning. We didn't get to that in our conversation. So when you mix this with what Osoy had just shared, and a lot of people have stories of horrible things that happen every day in Nigerian hospital. I'm not saying that the hospital system in America is perfect, that things don't happen, or in Europe. But in the case of Nigeria, it's so rampant, and there are almost impossible ways that things go wrong. What do you think about a young medical doctor? Because that's what we are now talking about. What about the young ones who will see all these things and decide that there's no need for them to stay in the country? What do you say?
Yeah. The whole thing is so depressing. It's an outrage. I mean, doctors are usually given special considerations when I remember when Idiabo was doing this cleaning up stuff. We were medical students, so we'll put our stethoscopes out and they will let us pass and all that. So I'm surprised to see that a professor, a cardiothoracic surgeon who was in the theater trying to get in, was just treated like this, and then the tear gas, the overwhelming use of force. So it almost looks like people who don't think, or was there something else going on behind the scene that they just needed to humiliate the doctor, put the patients at risk, and shut down the hospital. It just doesn't make sense. And this is why good leadership is empirical for development. We talked about China and everything. You know, China sets a 10-year plan when they do their big meetings they have. 10-year plan. It's never less than 10. So they know where they're going. They know how they're structuring their communities and their nation. But I don't know if it's a 5-year plan for Nigeria. I don't know if there's a 10-year plan for Nigeria. Because again, the level of corruption in the society is so high because there is no way of handling corruption. The so-called EFCC, I'm against the EFCC as an arm of the government because if it's under the government, they can deploy it anyhow they want. I don't know how many people who are fans of the EFCC. It's almost like the Gestapo that in Germany back in the day. So it's an instrument of intimidation.
All right. I will give Mr. James one more chance to ask a follow-up question, and then we are rounding up. I'll play one more video, and then yeah, go ahead, Mr. James.
Yeah, I just want to quickly say that Socrates said, if people get the government they deserve, this is the government we deserve in Nigeria. If we feel we do not deserve this government, we should know what to do. We should be tired of saying we are tired. We should stop complaining. Now, please, sir, I want to ask a very funny question. Whenever I go to a chemist or pharmacist, the sign for medical, what's it called? The medical symbol is normally a snake. I know that snakes are poisonous. Why should they use poison to represent their business? It's a bit confusing to me. You'll be able to enlighten me.
So there are two ways of looking at this snake thing. Number one is that you remember there's somewhere in the Bible where Moses raised a snake and told people who were bitten or something to look at that symbol so they will be healed. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And then there's another story I heard. I heard this yesterday. I think there's a place where people were kept who were not. I think these are people with psychiatric problems, right? And there were snakes there, and I think some level of interaction with the snakes or something led to healing. So there are versions of it. But I understand the fear of snakes and all that. But remember, not all snakes are poisonous, and there are non-venomous snakes out there. But those two stories, I think that's probably why the symbol stands. But it's a very good question that you're asking too.
All right. Thank you, Mr. James. CM.
So one more question, if you don't mind.
No, CM first. Then I'll come back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. I know you've tried out vitamin D in type 1 diabetes with excellent result, and then for which you've been recognized by the ADA, American Diabetes Association. You see, given what you know about diabetes, do you suggest, although it may not be backed up by research yet, that type 2, vitamin D as a therapy will also be used for the type 2 diabetes? Because my understanding is that it helps to prime the islet cells probably to respond to the deficiency in the insulin secretion or insulin whether I don't know, maybe that may be a good research area, because you've used it in type 1 and then look at the result you got and then you'll be building on it. So what if there's a transition, it goes to type 2, and let us see whether it may be promising there, because this is all about therapy. I don't know. I'm just asking based on
you're right.
Your area of expertise.
Yeah, you're right. Let me answer it in 3 ways. Number one is let's look at pre-diabetes, but pre-diabetes for type 2, okay, not type 1. So I'm one of my friends at Tufts University in Boston, Dr. Anastasios Peters, conducted a nationwide randomized control trial called D2D study, where he showed that. So the first result showed nothing, nothing. So there was nothing between the placebo and the vitamin D arm. But then, when they then did a secondary analysis of those who had entered the study with lower vitamin D but stayed high with higher vitamin D level throughout the study, compared to the placebo arm, they found that yes, those who sustained high levels of vitamin D actually had increased retrogression to normal glycemia, so they moved from pre-diabetes back to normal, right? And as compared to the placebo, where more people move to type 2 diabetes. Okay, so that's good. Then, looking at type 2 itself, I agree too that high dose vitamin D in patients with type 2 will improve the what we call the PIC ratio, so pro-insulin to C-peptide ratio. And by that, they will improve the formation of functional mature insulin molecules, which would improve glucose readings and all whatnot. So that is true. That is true. The only thing that I haven't understood is that whereas in type 1, in the tropics, you are protected from diabetes by sunshine, vitamin D, right? But then there's also that surging prevalence of type 2. Now, my sense is this. If somebody is living in the tropics and is maintaining normal body weight, then they will get that protection from going to type 2. But if you're living in the tropics and your weight goes up, then you lose that protection. And there will be that unmasking of those dormant genes that will predispose to type 2.
All right. Thank you, CM. Let me play this video as we round up.
I know that you might say that this is under the Ministry of Health, but this is also under the Ministry of Labor. And for someone who is in the medical field, aren't you concerned that, we could be facing a crisis of, a shortage of hands in the medical field as we progress?
No, I'm not concerned at all. I'm not worried.
You're not?
We have surplus. If you have surplus, you export. Yes. It happened at one time, Indian teachers. I was taught biology and chemistry by Indian teachers in my secondary school days. They are surplus in their country. We have surplus in the medical profession here, I can tell you. It's my area.
This is where we're complaining that we don't have enough doctors to man rural areas. There is not enough medical professionals. You say we have surplus?
We have enough. We have.
All right. That's it's related to.
So
that's Chris. Yeah.
A very unfortunate interview. And then, secondly, it shows lack of deep thinking. It also shows lack of understanding of current medical practices. In other words, you can have 250,000 doctors in a country, but only 5 of them are researchers. So you cannot move forward in that country. You will deliver care. This country, United States, has this thing called National Institutes of Health. That's where we go to fight for grant funding for our research. That's where we go to review research proposals coming from around the world. That's where we go to present our research. That's where cutting-edge research is coming from. It's like a furnace where the best brands in the world show up. So what Ngige doesn't understand is that it's not a numerical matter. It is where are you taking your nation to? And look at the way he was sitting back. I mean, the whole thing is laughable.
All right.
Rudolph, you owe me one this thing.
Please, Rudolph.
remember
Please,
again.
please,
No.
please,
Yeah,
Rudolph.
I allowed
Please.
it.
See, hold
Please,
on. I have a very
Rudolph,
interesting question.
because
I have a very interesting question.
Because-
Igbos have a proverb that the person whose father is in heaven doesn't go to hell. Now, Prof, you are at the beginning of the starting point of the ocean, where you can get the best of the waters. Please, can you ask or even fight for us? I'm still back to where I started. That there be some form of research for Black women concerning the issue of this breast cancer and fibroid. Is it possible that that kind of research be done and cure may be preferred for this thing to stop amongst our women?
You know, thank you for bringing that up again. You see, they have done this, what we call disease molecular markers, showing the BRCA1, BRCA2 phenotypes, right? So that if somebody is diagnosed with breast cancer, they will run that molecular profile. And if you're BRCA1, they have specific medications or treatment that is called precision medicine. We didn't talk about precision medicine at all today. This is precision medicine, where they study that cancer molecularly and find the particular epitopes that will destroy the progression of that cancer. And that is the question you're asking. Why can't a government in Africa develop a molecular signature of breast cancers in African women so that we can apply precision medicine to the cure? That is what is needed. That is where I would say a quarter of the national budget, healthcare budget for Nigeria should be going. Because if you take care of this, it will reduce the mortality rate in the women. That's one. The other thing, the fibroid is the same thing too. Understanding what are the things that lead to progression of fibroid. What are the types? You know, I mean, we studied this in medical school, but things have changed. There may be this forminan type that where you cannot reverse. It's not a question of just doing fibrectomy and removing those fibroids, but there may be other things that can be done, but only research will take us there. That's why I was looking at Ngige sitting back there and I said, this is a lost cause, because you should be moving forward. You shouldn't be sitting back there and saying we have surplus of doctors. What are the demographics that you're talking about? Are you talking about researchers? How many researchers do you have?
All right. Even in terms of numbers, just sheer numbers, we don't have anything close to what the UN, World Health Organization recommended that it should have. All right, CM, quickly.
But before I ask my question, what of the quality that Ngige is exporting? What quality of doctors is he exporting? But that is by the way. So, Prof, what I want to say is this. If there's an arrangement whereby, because medicine there's what they call telemedicine. You can be in Boston, Massachusetts, or in New York, and be holding a sort of a seminar with maybe select consultants, so-called consultants, consultant physicians, diabetologists, maybe once a month or once in 2 weeks, depending on your time. If there's an arrangement like that, because I feel sometimes, although we blame doctors in Nigeria because of the poor outcome they bring out, but in most cases, it's like it's what you put in is what you get out. Most of them are bereft of contemporary knowledge of clinical medicine. They might not know most of these things or where you are, but at least to have to benefit from your expertise. So if there's an arrangement whereby maybe let me use our Anambra State for example, and is muted, then are you willing to sort of, organize, syndicate your colleagues, maybe in different field from abroad? You do it once a month and take turns, just to brush them up and tell them this is where we are in the world. Even if you do not have an opportunity of coming, there are some literature they can, with email, you download and send to them. They read, because one thing I will tell you is, I'm a clinical biochemist by training, by practice. So some of these things, they will always tell you that the moment you start to practice, the day you stop reading is the day you stop practicing, or the day you die. You must continue to read. In Nigeria, most of them don't, because of economic situation. They have to look for something else. So if you can help to bridge that gap, be in your New York, be doing what you're doing there, you are making us proud. And then by way of knowledge transfer, an arrangement like this is being made, or you look into it properly. You must have been thinking about it, so it will also help them, because for every 50 that benefits, who knows, 2 it may help to change their mode of practice, and then the ultimate outcome will change. The patient experience will also improve. So this is what suggestion I want to make. Not that I'm powerful to organize. No. But I'm just saying it because I don't know who is listening. Rudolph here can help. He's one of those we know. I mean, in Anambra now, you can't. He's not. He's also one of them. So he's up there. Forget about he's up there on the Jemba. So that's what I'm saying. Probably you lies with him, he will tell you how to reach those in power at Yoka, and then something like this will be done. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Great idea. Thank you.
All right. You mentioned people who are important. We played a video of Chris Ngige, and Ngige went to Okija famously. Went to Okija before he became governor. We have Okija and Okija here, so I will let him speak or maybe ask a question, and then we will go to Ike, and that will be the final person. Okija, go ahead.
Good day, everyone. Good day, Dr. Nwosu. Thank you for coming to see us. And Rudolph Ngige, they went to 419ers who are masquerading as Okija, shrine owners. That's what's happening. And that's Doctor. I mean, I think you people who are here in Nigeria. I know that you've said that you work with some doctors in Nigeria, from your school, the school you went to. But I think it has to be with there need to be not only doctors in the US, doctors all over the world. Nigerians work with Nigerian Medical Council or Nigerian Medical Association, because there's so much things are going on in Nigerian medical field that you just. For instance, I went to Nigeria. And I found out my blood pressure was high. So I went to a doctor, one of the best hospitals they said they had in Festac. And this doctor, prescribed, medication for me. Because I'm that type of person. Even here in the US, if they give me medication, I'll just have Google them. So this doctor, they prescribe 2 medications, and I went and I Googled them, found out they are contraindications. You're not supposed to be taking 2 of them. And I was like, wow, if I didn't know if I had taken this, what would have happened? So these are some of the cases. A lot of people have been killed in Nigeria by doctors giving them it's situation like this, giving them medicine that are not supposed to take together. And also, like I was thinking about national health insurance program. Because doctors in Nigeria, they've turned into their hustlers, they are businessmen, business is first. So I was like, because so when people talk about national health insurance, I don't even agree with it, because I don't want it. There has to be a way, to plan it, execute it, and monitor, because doctors in Nigeria, the way they are doing, they're just gonna be billing the system, just be making money, fake, patients, all those and that. So for now, I don't like it. Also, like probably about this story. There was I heard that someone was telling me the story about in Anambra State, some Anambra doctors in the US, they bought, medical equipment, right? They sent to ENU Hospital Gidi, and they packed them, and they started disappearing. And they found out it was the doctors that worked there, disappearing these things. So I don't understand. I mean, like, these people that, they are supposed to be, because when we were growing up, we trusted doctors. We said, one of us doctor, we trusted them to tell the truth, to do everything right. But the doctors they have in Nigeria, they're just business people. If they see, if someone goes to the hospital, they find out that the person has someone in abroad, the bill is different. The bill is different. If they know that the person has money, the bill is different. Even growing up in Onitsha, I noticed that when rich people they go to hospital, they just build them extravagantly. Yeah.
Thank you. So, I mean, I agree with you, and I'm happy you checked to Google the medications to see the drug-drug interaction profile of the medications you were given. And this is where, Nigeria is a literate nation, and a lot of them are, educated. But there's always that, what I would call patriarchal system, where it's almost like a feudal system, where you have that one rich person and everyone else is just serving that rich person. That syndrome percolates through the entire society. The president has absolute power over everyone else. And so the institutions are very weak. Like Osofia was saying, that the judiciary system is very, very corrupt and weak. So even if you go to them, it's not going to earn you anything. And then the behavior of doctors, it's sad to hear. It's very sad to hear, because some of this equipment would have saved so many lives. It's a lot of work to bring those equipment into Nigeria, and then to service and maintain and all that. So it's very sad to hear. But until we fix the fundamental societal ills, I think we're going to be running into all these problems. The thing with health is that health, when it hits, is personal. You are thinking about your mortality at that point. And that's why doctors are trained to be very sensitive to people's mortality, but how they counsel them, how they address them, how they care for them, and how they, bring them back to health. And when all these things are missing, it becomes a bigger narrative on the society itself, because health is wealth. It goes back to my theory that whether you're a developed nation or a backward nation depends on what the primary leader of that country, where they seek their health care. So,
all right. Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Let me say that there were so many questions on the comment section. Sometimes these are questions that we've touched on in my one-on-one conversation with Professor Nwosu. So I may not highlight that or bring it up. So it doesn't mean that it doesn't matter, but I felt that we've discussed that along the way. But is this question about sickle cell? It's one particular one, I think it's Chukwu Emeka, I believe.
Yeah. No, let me say this now, because this is where this thing gets, it's so easy to tell the story, but it takes a year and a half to go from point A to point Z in this therapy. And then let me tell you something that I didn't even mention. That viral vector cocktail that is used costs $3.2 million. Okay, so it's not cheap. We're not at the point where it will be widely available. So please, understand where I'm coming from. Yeah.
Okay. For those who did not get it, or maybe they just joined us, he was talking about sickle cell and where we are with the treatment, the finding the cure. And somebody was saying, is it okay now for AS to marry AS? So, which is, all right, I will let Ike ask the final question, and then you give us your final thoughts. Ike.
Good afternoon, Dr. Damages. Good afternoon, Doctor, and everybody in the panel. I'm Mr. Ike Alamefle. I'm speaking from the island of Bonaire. The question I have is kind of one question and opinion. Is diabetes a generational thing? That's one of my questions. The second question I have is that what is the impact of the level of our consumption of fufu, to the issue of diabetes? Because I think we grow up, we can eat fufu from morning, afternoon, night. Many years back when we are back home, fufu is just like every other normal food we eat. We can take it one morning, afternoon, night for 1 month, non-stop. So I want to know what is the effect of, for now, for example, we that live in diaspora right now, we are no more, we have the opportunity of buying them. We don't eat it like the way we eat them when we are in Nigeria. For example, I just finished eating one fufu right now, but which means it takes me sometimes once in a month or once in 2 months for me to be able to eat fufu. But at times, I keep wondering, does it have something to do with diabetes? So these are my two questions.
Yeah. So your question about whether diabetes is a generational disease, I don't know. Earlier, I said the diabetes is a polygenic disorder, meaning a number of genes, many genes come together to predispose an individual to the risk of diabetes, right? So it's not a monogenic condition, but we have what's called monogenic diabetes, which is caused by single genes. Now, some of these monogenic diabetes will be transmitted in what is called autosomal dominant fashion, meaning it will show in every generation. So this is where what we call maturity onset diabetes of the young. And we have various subtypes. Again, we did not go into precision medicine because, for example, MODY 2, 3, those ones as opposed to MODY 6 and 7, those ones can respond to oral medication. So you don't need insulin for those. So that's precision medicine. So that's the type of diabetes that can be transmitted in every generation of a family. Luckily, it's rare, okay? So let's come back to type 2 diabetes. It's a polygenic disorder. It is very, very widely expressed in people of African ancestry. However, as long as you are active, as long as you're moving around, as long as your weight is down, your muscle mass is there, you're good. These will be dormant genes sitting there, and you live your life and pass, and your children will come and go. But once you adopt sedentary lifestyle and your body mass index is going up, then the eating of fufu, if you eat a small amount of fufu, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's just when you then do it and you're not moving around, you're not burning off the energy, your weight is going up, then those genes will be unmasked. And then people go down with the clinical condition. So that's what it is, really. The other thing was I think I answered the two questions together.
Yes, you answered question. But another thing I want to add to that is, what of the issue of the quantity intake of mango, banana, and plantain?
In what sense? Just so I can
because
answer it.
like doctors over here, they will advise you don't take much of mango. You can take them, but don't take it too much. Mango, banana, or plantain. For example, for me personally, as a human, one of my best food is plantain and banana. But at a certain age, I'm 63 by now. I'm 63, so we have the opportunity to go to medical checkup every 6 months or every year if you want. So the doctor advised I should reduce my intake of plantain, mango, and banana. It's not telling me not to take them, but just reduce what you take.
In fact, let me come to that, because sometimes in Nigeria, I know some people will start eating pounded banana or something or plantain when they are diagnosed with diabetes and all that. But you know that American Diabetes Association has done away with this thing called diabetes diet. No, we don't need it anymore. Just eat moderately, cover it with insulin. And the issue of not eating too much fruits, honestly, they are worried about the sugar content of the fruits, right? But have they shown the impact of that sugar on your A1C? If they can show that, then they have a point. But if somebody's A1C is okay and they like to enjoy fruits, no, you should eat the fruits. What's the problem? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Everything in moderation. In medicine, we are taught that medications are poisons in appropriate amounts.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Before you give us final thoughts, there's a question I got from a friend here on my WhatsApp. It was about hospitals stopping, refusing to see patients without a police report. It's something that is very, I don't know if you've heard about that in Nigeria, where if they bring in a patient who had a gunshot wound, they will refuse to see the patient. They will insist that they will you must bring a police report. So just think about it. Somebody is shot. And I have this theory that the people that died in Nigeria, when somebody is shot, because we don't have ambulance system that will take you to the hospital as soon as possible, people essentially stay there and bleed to death. There is no, and if you get to the hospital say, oh, it was a gunshot. Oh no, but we don't want to put police wahala. Take him out. So how do you begin to deal with this kind of process?
First of all, you have to ask yourself, where did that law come from? Was it one of those things we inherited from the colonial system? Okay. So honestly, I'm interested in knowing where that law came from. Did it come from Nigerian jurisprudence or something from the colonial era? Because it's a horrible concept. The oath we take as doctors is first do no harm, and that means save the patients, and then let's deal with the judicial issues later. What is police? And then again, like you said, there are no ambulance systems around, and then where is the police officer who is going to go to? These things are just nonsensical. But somebody, if there's a lawyer just find out where that law came from. I think that's the first thing, because such things should be removed from the order of existence in Nigeria. That one should just be struck off. Is it one of the decrees they passed after a military coup or something? It's just weird.
All right. To be fair to the police, the last 4 IG of police, they've said that hospitals should treat patients. They should ignore that. But hospitals are not doing it, even though the IG of police already said they should ignore that and treat people who are brought in for treatment.
But this is where institutions come into play. It's not for the IG of police to announce it. It has to be enshrined in the Constitution. So that when someone goes to court, the lawyer representing the individual will be quoting the Constitution of the country, not what the IG said. You see what I'm trying to say? Between, this is where institutions come into play. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you so much. Any final thoughts for us as we...
Well, let me just say this. I didn't know what to expect coming on this interview, but I really enjoyed it because speaking to people that like me and have the same understanding of this world like I do, and have the same issues of concerns about the place we were born and all the issues that we are dealing with as Nigerians. And in terms of medicine, like I said, everything about disease is personal. If somebody tells you, if somebody has a headache right now, it's personal to the person. So the country should see this as one of their number one priorities, how to organize the medical space, how to ensure that poor people are receiving care, how to ensure that students are receiving care, and how to regulate what our doctors do, and then how to regulate the law enforcers in their interaction with the medical practitioners, because I still remember there was a time your stethoscope will help you to bypass roadblocks and whatever. So what happened? So I thank you for the opportunity. I thank the audience. I thank everyone. And I say, keep supporting what the Iroko Post TV, because we need avenues like this to come together and discuss our problems and then move forward as progressive human beings.
All right. Thank you so much. Really, I appreciate you. And hopefully when we call you back to join us, you will oblige us and join us. We appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Okudelio, nyekelanio, Olisamalu Cohen menenua. Okudelio, nyekelanio, Chukuna malugo yobiadio cha. Agaranya chogo kowe bili, agaranya chogo kowe rienio. Owe chuku bezie chuku. Nuche chukwa busigi fegemeo, nuche chukwa busia ifegemeo. Ni fosolo ne asi alibazie. Obe bebe agaranya muliba, obe wuru agaranya mebibe solia, mano agaranya wa, obe afiozi enipakwa. Agaranya chogo kowe bili, agaranya chogo kowe rienio. Owe chikubezio lisa. Kodili bemo, kodili wakema, kodili wanima. Naino kwane we beluo. Kodili bemo, kodili kemo, kodili heyo. Ibedwe me wane, nikadie zibohimo.
Graduate people.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
I am one of them. I am part of it.
Yes, sir.
I am a graduate man. Yes. I'm a graduate man.
Exactly.
After all, my wife is a graduate.
Yes.
And I'm the one that sent her to school.
Exactly, sir.
He that trained a graduate is also a graduate trainer. Are you understand me?
Yes, sir.
A graduate trainer is also a graduate because you have already used your money to graduate somebody.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in this wonderful conversation we had with Professor Nwosu. It's my hope that every now and then we stay far away from politics and talk about other issues that are of importance to all of us. I'm sure there is nobody here. If you're from Africa, you know somebody who is diabetic, and it's important to share and hear from professionals who will give us insights into some of these things. So I will just hear one line from everybody, and then we know we have a follow-up where we down do analysis of what happened here, and KJ is ready to handle that. So KJ, let's start with you.
Thank you, thank you, Dr. Rudolph. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to him. He's well grounded. In fact, these are the kind of people when we listen to, we begin to ask ourselves whether we'll go to school. He is, he knows his onions. I wish that a country going somewhere will be able to carry this kind of people to their department to help them plan out. For instance, you heard what he said. The American government deals with the National Institute of Health that marshals out what should be done and try to coordinate every other research. The last time we heard something that looks like a research was when Professor somebody Chuku, the guy who fought the Ebola thing, what's his name now? His name just escaped me. Who was the Minister of Health during I don't know if you remember his name. Somebody Chuku. Now, people like this can be used to set up the framework, the framework for such a country like Nigeria. Now, I say this with understand that they say out of every 5 black men, 2, 3, or 4 may be Nigerians. And so that means that if there's going to be any progress on the African continent or with a black man, we should see ourselves as leading such a research, leading such a breakthrough. Nobody, if you're a Caucasian guy, are you going to live researching about your people and begin to research about some people far away in the African continent? No, but we have a government that have apportioned 15 trillion naira to do East-West Coast Road, and another 13 trillion to do West-North Road. That if you use that amount to decide to run a research institute and set up researchers and scientists like this and say, we want to know why is it that black men have prostate cancer so much? Why is it that black women have breast cancer? Why is it that they have fibroids? What is the thing? Is it on our food? Is it on our water? Is it deliberate? Because we know that there's also biological warfare. Which one is it? And then we will now narrow down. And when such a thing is done, we will now have something that can bring a lasting cure to this thing worrying our own people. Why is the black, I don't want to cause, but I think we should have a people that have a heart for our own people. For our own people. You see, when I say for our own people, you may be a governor today, a minister today, and you are stealing as much as you can. But that money you are stealing will not stop your people from also suffering this disease. Whilst we can get a cure for it. Some time ago, a renowned journalist died in Abuja from snake bite. Snake bite. And when we talk about this, when we talk about this on this channel, people are telling us, I snake not biting people in America. These are things that, in fact, let me even tell you, Rudolph has said this, is it privately or so to some of us? The amount of wickedness you find in the animals in Africa is nothing comparable to what you see in America. I'm serious about this. You see, you will see a snake. The snake normally doesn't even bite people. You will see a bird. You will fly around your house and be, around your house. You and the bird can even be playing boju to fly, go come back, so you fly. Have you ever seen such a thing in Africa? It doesn't happen. I mean, Nigeria especially. Let me not say Africa. Okay, because I think the wickedness there, it's just unbelievable. So let us reduce our wickedness by instituting what will help our people. Look, I am here today. One of the things we learned today in church is that we are asked, all of us are asked, how do you think? Are you thinking generationally or are you thinking immediate? Because the people who brought development to this world were not thinking about their immediate. Some of them, even the what they instituted, they didn't even enjoy it. And that's someone like Abraham. See, Abraham was not thinking about his time, but he was thinking about the times to come ahead, and he made ample opportunity for his people. David knew that he couldn't build the temple, but he gathered everything that we needed for it, left it for his son, called his son, and laid his hand on him and said, you know what? This is what I couldn't do because the Lord said, my hands are too dirty with blood. You go do it. This is what you're supposed to do. And Solomon executed that, which still stands till today. What we as patriarchs of today, if they look for us tomorrow, they don't find us. What will the people who are in government say they are living for Nigeria? Is it too difficult for Nigeria to find a cure for breast cancer, fibroid, prostate cancer? What is so difficult there? If we sell some of the executive jets that they have in the presidency, we can even institute this research. Why do we think of ourselves? Self. That question goes to all of us. Thank you.
Let's start with malaria. Let us start with malaria first. Let's start with malaria.
No, Chim, CM, don't go there. You see, I just read 2 days ago. Bill Gates carried the malaria, his mosquitoes to Burkina Faso, and the guy shut it down. The guy said, no, you can't come and do any research without approval. They shut the whole thing down. That's the kind of leaders Africans are looking for. I said on this program when the so-called C19 started, I said, who we have people like this. Did they ever ask them to research what is the particle, what is the molecule, or whatever it is, chemical ingredients in that thing that we are shooting all into our children's hand everywhere, shooting into our hands everywhere? Did anybody ever bother to say, come on, gentlemen, let us research what is in this thing we are giving our people? But we can bring it, give to 30 million people with nobody even knowing what they are giving us. I said here on this program, I have no scientific proof for that. But I said all my friends, all of us who took this thing, there's a sign here you see, those of us who were in primary school when they came to give us that shot. Many of us don't have more than 3 children. Go and check. Many of us don't have more than 3 children. Go and check. Go and check. I'm serious. Some don't even have at all. Okay? And today, nobody's caring about it. Nobody. So we're just guinea pigs. Anybody can come and do his experiment in Africa, and that's it. We must wake up and take the bull by the horn and face the consequence. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much.
Ngiga's minister said Nigeria has excess doctors, so we can export. And you start to ask yourself, what quality of doctors are you exporting?
All right. CM, I'll come to you, but let me just mention this is from Guy. He said maybe we should bring guests to discuss health issues once a month or every other month. Yeah, that's a good idea. We really need to expand, go beyond politics. I know our people are political animals and they want to hear about Tinubu and Ababio and Tiku and Obi and stuff like that. But I think we need to expand, and I'm making efforts to bring people from different fields to come and join us Sundays. Thank you, Guy. All right, CM, I'll give you 2 minutes. We're rounding up because KJ will do a detailed follow-up. Yeah.
Okay, well, the thing is, first of all, I'm so happy that Professor Nwosu came. Forget about he's here with us. Somebody whose research in America, of all places, was recognized by the American Diabetes Association. This is not political award. It's recognized by his colleagues to say, yes, you are doing a life-saving research. Well, I'm not the people awarding Nobel Prize, but if he continues like this, which I know he will, because I quickly checked vitamin D. Imagine what he's trying to do is to slow down, in a way, the severity of diabetes first, And then as you are giving the treatment, the person will be responding. So it's improving patient experience. The outcome is brilliant. That's why he was given an award, recognized by the American Diabetes Association. In other words, people that are working in diabetes, specialize in that field, all over United States, they formed the association. And, you know, they say the best honor is the honor given to you by members of your profession, because they know your worth. Because what you do, for them to recognize it, they must have investigated it, checked, no copy work, no mago, no, no cut and join. They said yes, and it took you years. So I'm so grateful to him. I enjoy his his lecture, not really into, but he lectured us, and I'm so happy. That's why I said, and now God, so I forgot this. The chief medical director of Anambra Teaching Hospital, the one owned by Anambra State, is from his town, probably his village, Ngo village in Ibuku. So I wish, if I know the woman, the number, I would have connected and said, look, propose this type of thing to him. Let's indicate his colleagues over there in different specialty, maybe how many of them that can volunteer once a month. It's like a telemedicine or Zoom meeting. They will have it, because that is knowledge. Because most of these Nigerian doctors, sometimes you not blame them, because the resources are not there. They are not there, and they are bedeviled by economic. They have to put food on the table the way they say it. So they have to even leave medicine and go extra to go and be doing what they are not supposed to be doing. So which time do they have to update their knowledge? Because you can imagine, if you're a patient under Professor Nwosu, you should be happy, because he's giving you the latest knowledge. That's what he's using on you. The latest. What they've tried out. That's what they call evidence-based medicine. What you've tried and is working. If he condemns this, he condemns that. But in Nigeria, they don't know. Even textbook they read, it depends on Ikekete, If you manage to pass medical school, you come out. Or with grudge, you see a patient, you can start to discharge your anger, because government hasn't paid you. And one patient, is disturbing, or maybe if your delivery couldn't deliver quickly. He said, madam, do quick, let's get at it, because you've not been paid. All those things. So he has to, so many human factors. So I feel somebody like him, since he's still around with us, because in this world, it's better, whatever you want to do to help humanity, do it, because nobody knows tomorrow. So
right.
if such people can transfer their knowledge from far away New York to help physicians in Nigeria, in Anambra State in particular, and then whatever knowledge, because he might even tell them that don't use this medication anymore. It's outdated, or maybe tweak it with this, or don't just use polymedicine, subject the patient. That is part of the training. So you are learning from the expert, because he has tried it. So that's what I suggested to him. But like I said, I'm handicapped. It's not something I can easily give. Otherwise, I would have organized it without wasting time. And I know people like this, they wouldn't charge. They will just willingly do it to help. Let me give way for others to speak. Thank you, Rudolph.
All right, CM, thank you so much. Mr. James.
Yes, I think what KJ has said is reasonable. But the issue is that, who are those to conduct the research we are talking about? And another problem is, when we are analyzing Nigerian problems, we always analyze them piecemeal. We are now analyzing the medical situation in Nigerian hospitals. Journalism is there. The court system is there. Transportation system is there. The family unit, the whole country is in tatters. So we need to reorganize the entire country and make Nigerians believe that we are, first of all, fundamentally Nigerians. before you are an Edo man or Robo man or Igbo man or Juku man. If we are unable to do that, then our effort will be something like exercise in futility. That's point number one. The quality of graduates we've been producing for the past 20 years, there's nothing to write home about them. Because I was finding out something some time ago on ChatGPT or so. The number of female Nigerian professors in Nigerian universities, and the number was 1,800 full professors, not associate or whatever, full professors, female, 1,800. Okay, ChatGPT is not always, it's not 100% accurate. Let us assume that we have 1,000 female professors in Nigeria. Something struck my mind. Why is it that when television analysts, television houses like what's called Arise News, Rufai, Chamberlain, and others, they're inviting people to be interviewed on diverse national issues. They have never, to the best of my knowledge, invited a female Nigerian professor, to the best of my knowledge, on Arise or any of the leading TV stations. I do not know of any. I don't mean women. There are some women like Obi Ezekweli or something like that. She's an activist, but full-time professors who are lecturing either at Lagos or Ahmadu Bello or wherever it is, I do not know of any. So how did they become professors? So how do you entrust those people with such enormous responsibility? And the same thing applies to the men. Most of the professors they interview, you are my witness, Mr. Rudolph. What's his name? Osene Rufai has rubbished a number of them, so-called professors. I agree that there are some outstanding professors like Bolaji Akijemi, Sam Amadi, and one or two others. I quite agree. But majority of them, they are not better than first degree holders. So if you want to set up research institutes, it's just another way of siphoning money from the system. So this is how I see it. Look at the technical. Okay, anyway, let me stop.
Round up their thoughts. Yeah, that round up. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the point is that we need to reorganize the country properly. If it is not properly organized, we just keep on wasting money. Because right now, the university lecturers are threatening to go on strike again because they need more money. When you give them more money, what are they going to do with it? That is a question they cannot answer, yet they want more money for research which they are not capable of conducting. Even see some of them who are sent out on technical assistance. When they finish their service here and they return to Nigeria, they cannot even write a comprehensive report, which they will give to the federal government to act as guidance when they want to take future decisions. There are so many nasty things going on in the country. So there's no need for this 2027 election. We should cancel it, reorganize the country, and see what to get. Look, there are a lot of, left to me, Nigeria actually is irredeemable. Nigeria is beyond redemption. So the earlier we work out a new arrangement, the better it is for us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. James. Let's see. Ike, you are the final person.
I'm only just want to thank the doctor for what he's doing in his community, trying to educate people and trying to impact life in his town and community and the school where he went. It's very commendable. KJ have said it all. We live in a country where Mr. Peter Obi spend not less than 300 to 400 million naira every month for health and education, private individual every month. Calculate that money in a year. And the government are using money to play politics from his own personal resources, making sure that Nigeria have a better professionally trained, skilled workers in the health sector and in education. Spending his resources every month, nothing less than 400 million naira. But a lot of people see it that he's playing politics. I would have loved if everybody would be playing the same politics. all the billionaires and all the millionaires we have in Nigeria, and they keep investing in health and education. Let it be politics, but let all of them begin to invest that money. Instead, we are using our money to buy private jet. We are using it to build the so-called road. Some of us will not even live to fly that road. It's just what it is. We have people of his, intellectuals and calibers outside Nigeria that could come back home to make the country a better country. But where is the environment? Environment is not conducive. If you come, if they cannot corrupt you, they frustrate you, they do so many things so that you get angry and walk away. And that is what we have seen to some of them who came back to try to be part of the system because they couldn't enjoy in the corruption. They want to change the system. But like my elder brother James used to say, Nigeria is so rotten that there is no way going forward. Because the system is so bad and so corrupt that some of these professionals, when they go back, they cannot deal with it, and they end up going back from where they're coming from. So I'm happy that he's making himself available in his community. At least they say charity begins at home. It starts from his community. But I'm hoping and praying that a lot of Nigerian billionaires and millionaires should continue to invest in health and in education, because that's the only way forward. All the researches we are talking about, we have people who can sponsor research in Nigeria. We have billionaires and millionaires who can individually sponsor research in anything that they want. But no, we are using our money to do other things. So I'm really impressed for his knowledge about medicine. So I pray that he keep what he's doing, and God will continue to give him the grace to continue to do what he's doing. Thank you, Dr. Damage.
All right, thank you, Ike. Let me thank the people that supported us. Wachuku, thank you so much for your donation. Guy, thank you so much for your support. And Prince Akwachi, thank you so much. Our guest said something that I know most people didn't hear, but we are going to follow up on that, which was that he has a foundation, Professor Nwosu Foundation. So he's going to have support this platform with his foundation. And the way he wants to do it is that he will match what people are donating to support. So we don't have all the details. We will talk to him outside this, and then we will announce it. So it's something that is done in America. Most public radio, public TV stations, we say that if you donate to this channel, let's say you donate $2 every week, every month, they will match it. A foundation will match it by donating $2 too. So that way, the goal is to have a lot of people participate in supporting something that they think is worth it. Anyway, we'll get to the details. We'll find out where direction he wants to take it, but he mentioned that in passing. I want to thank those that helped me behind the scene, my executive producer, Show. Thank you so much. And the people behind who helped to produce this show. Next week, we are going to have another interesting guest. I don't have anything concluded. There's somebody I'm looking for. If it works out, it will be quite interesting. And like I say every week, if you know anybody who is out there that the view you think is important, you can help us and we can reach out to them. We're always looking for new voices to join us in this conversation that we have here. All right. Thank you, KJ, for being here. Thank you, Ike, for being here. Thank you, CM. Thank you, Mr. James. Thank you, all the people who joined at one point to be part of this. Those that watched at home, thank you. We didn't have someone reminding you to, it's a good time to like and share this broadcast. It's not late, so that more people will see it. So please, if you can take a minute to just click on share, like, and that will be helpful. Now, KJ, we have a new follow-up show. To join that stream, I'm going to share the link now for a more detailed analysis of what happened on this. So you can click on that stream and join the new stream where that conversation will take place. Again, thank you everybody for being here, and we'll see you next Saturday. Oh, KJ, thank you so much for stepping in for me yesterday. I went somewhere, and I will probably share some pictures and videos if they have not looked at them. I'll share them with people. Again, thank you, all of you. Okay.
Tó fẹ́ kú torí ẹ̀. Ọwọ́ ẹni ló ti ṣàánú kọ́. Ayé la bá, ayé la fi sílẹ̀ sí. Ọ̀nà èyí yóò.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Have you subscribed? Yes, you. Have you subscribed? You. Yeah, before you go, click. It's free. Click. Just that's it. Have you subscribed? You are laughing. Have you subscribed? Have you subscribed? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, madam. Thank you so much. I can see you. I can see you. We have to get to 100,000 subscribers. By the end of the year, how are we going to do that if you don't subscribe? Yes, you. Yes, you're about to click off. Why? Have you subscribed? It's free. If you don't, ask your son, ask your daughter how to. Just one click. Thank you. Thank you. I see you. Aha. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 100, 101. 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 200, 201, 201, 202, 23, 24, 206, 207, 308, 300, 301, 302, 304. Paul.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
I am one of them. I am part of it.
Yes, sir.
I am a graduate man. Yes. I'm a graduate man.
Exactly.
After all, my wife is a graduate.
Yes.
And I'm the one that sent her to school.
Exactly, sir.
He that trained a graduate is also a graduate trainer. Are you understand me?
Yes, sir.
A graduate trainer is also a graduate because you have already used your money to graduate somebody.
Yeah.